you show us that, graduation card? I had to have all the left, I just managed to get the dollar already. How do you know it?
Can someone change that channel to the Selectmen show? Is there a way to do that?
Want me to change it?
Yeah.
Nice job, it's house.
Yeah.
But we're still trying to get the TV going.
Maybe if somebody could let Kirby, you know.
Giving you the better one. It was over here.
You want to switch? If you don't like it, look at that.
No,
Kirby,
you had nothing, and then I just realized.
change the channel.
You okay? Well, we can switch.
We had a drive-by.
You don't see him in Turn Avenue.
Hi, Jamie. All right, yourself?
See ya.
Good seeing you. How's everything down the State House?
Good.
Excellent, excellent.
Technical
Well, we're getting
difficulties.
closer.
Here you
There
go. All
it
right,
is.
very good. Thank you.
No problem, Dave.
Thank you. Now we can start.
Can we start? I have to wait for him.
Yeah, wait till, right.
Crazy Monday.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the drum roll, please. Here we are. Ta-da. Okay, welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of June 9th, 2014. Madam Clerk, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you remain standing, please. On the 2nd of June, Acting Governor William Francis Galvin ordered the United States flags of the Commonwealth be lowered to half-staff in memory of Joseph A. Anastasio, who died from the U.S. Army. He was a resident of Canton. Thank you. The agenda for tonight will be input updates, both public and members' updates. 7:10, we have Senator Jamie Eldridge here to go over updates also. 7:30, annual board appointments. I think we're going to do 4 separate boards or commissions. 7:50, request. A, community preservation agreement for the Congregational Church. B, entertainment license for the Kelly Miller Circus. And C, Gary Archer Incorporated retail package store license, has to do with his agreement with the town. 8 o'clock, Sam Parks was supposed to be here to talk about the point. We will have, what's his name?
Tim Power.
Tim Power here to give us an update on the progress at that development. 8:20, acting police chief update, department certification, accreditation update, staffing, vacancy review for a 17th patrolman. 8:40, town administrator and assistant town administrator for finance and budget, PMBC. Then procurements of police vehicles, fire vehicles, and fire radios. C, staffing vacancy reviews for conservation, election, and temporary administrators. And D, electric, light and water department that oversees our sewer system. We'll be talking about that. June, and EG, June 28th, special town election, 9 o'clock, other business consent agenda. So,
Mr. Chairman, just a few items in the mail packet. First, I put a summary of a written summary of the Littleton Housing Forum that was conducted last Tuesday night, June 3rd. Information is available online as well, and for anyone who was not able to be there, you can watch the program that was taped about updating Littleton's housing production plan. It's available on cable, and it's also available online. We have a letter that had been received with some suggestions from Megan Rank regarding improving our town common, which is in the board's packet and has been distributed. And in addition to a lot of other celebratory events that are going to be occurring between now and our next meeting, including the big kickoff for the 300th on Saturday, June 21st. I did want to put in a plug a couple of days after that the Boston Red Sox organization is bringing to Littleton High School auditorium for about a 2-hour period the Red Sox World Series trophies from 2004, 2007, and 2013 for your viewing pleasure, and to take a selfie and just have a good time. So, thank you.
thank you, Keith. Any comments about mail? If not, public input, anybody? Ms. Curry?
Hi, I'm here for 2 reasons. First, as town clerk, just to let everybody know, obviously there's a June 28th special election, but the absentee ballots are in. If you look, you're not going to be in town, please send something in writing, whether it's by email or in the mail, or stop by and you can vote, but you cannot take the ballot out of the clerk's office, so you have to vote there or have it sent to you. The second reason I'm here is because of what Keith just touched on briefly, is the 21st is the opening ceremony for the 300th, and we'd like everybody to join us. We start off with the 6:30 to 10:30 is the breakfast that the Rotary Club is nice enough to hold, and then we're going to head out to the field for all of the festivities. Thank you.
Ray is the chair of the open of the introduction committee. So
Yes.
thank you.
Anyone else on public input? If not, board input. Isn't there any?
Well, I'd just like to follow up on what Diane was saying. This is kind of odd that we have an election in June, and it's right when break time starts for everybody and they want to go, but you know what? Voting is both a privilege and a responsibility, and I hope that people in the community will, by one means or another, take the time to vote, because it does have a big impact on the future of this town and the democratic system that we exist in. So please get out and vote.
Mr. Scott?
I'd just like to congratulate the class of 2014 at the high school. They had a great, both girls and boys sports, had a great year, starting off with the state championship, and a lot of teams making it to the states, making it to the finals. So congratulations to everybody in the class of 2014. That's all I got.
That's actually exactly what I was going to say. They seem like an intelligent and unique and close-knit class, so congratulations. Go out there, do us proud.
Okay. And for once, I have nothing to say as far as input goes. Moving right along, we welcome Senator Eldridge, if you want to come up one seat further, and
Sure, you want me to pull a chair up? to
Sure.
the microphone?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay.
The witness table.
You're used to testify.
Yeah, we
Usually on the
appear-
other side of the
We appear on
table.
the other side of that table.
Yeah, well, good evening, and thanks very much for having me. And usually, I think I'm coming before you around February or March, so we can talk about what you'd like to see in the state budget. So now both the House and Senate have passed their versions of the budget. Now it's in conference committee, and it'll probably be finished in a couple weeks. It does give me the opportunity, since Littleton has had its regular town election, to congratulate Melissa on being elected, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yep, so look forward to working with you, as I have with the rest of the board. And the handout I gave is the cover letter, which I won't go into too much detail with my budget priorities, but it listed the budget priorities I went into the Senate budget with, which was 3 weeks ago. And probably the most important thing for the board is the cherry sheet, which is the last sheet, or excuse me, second to last sheet, the chart here. So, again, the state budget isn't finalized, but if you just look at the second to last sheet, for Chapter 78 for education aid for Littleton, last year, the funding for FY14 was $3,731,913, and the proposed and basically agreed upon number for the FY15 is $3,770,463. Again, not a significant increase, but, an increase still going into the coming fiscal year. So I think that will be a final number. And then near the, in the sort of midsection, unrestricted general government aid, there'll be an increase from $615,000 to $632,000. So again, not a significant increase, but a modest increase. And then beyond that, the Senate increased the funding for the special education reimbursement. That's not reflected in the cherry sheet estimates, but we did increase that, so I'm hoping that will be in the final budget. And of course, that relates to my budget priorities as reflected on the first page is, obviously local aid and sped circuit breaker and other forms of local aid are top priority, and then maintaining funding for vital social safety net services, including the Council on Aging. Significant investments in capital infrastructure. So this is the session for bond bills to pass. So the transportation bond bill, which I'll go into a little bit more detail, but that's been passed and signed into law. And the legislature, the House already took up the environmental bond bill, which includes money to purchase open space, and the Senate will be taking that up within, I'd say, about 2 weeks. So the legislation that might be of interest, and I know I got an email from Keith about some of the board's priorities that you wanted me to answer, but just to go through some of the bills that I highlighted on this first page. The first one, in part because Littleton's done an excellent job in working with its fellow towns, including border towns, on regionalization, is House 3822, an act promoting municipal collaboration and regionalization throughout the Commonwealth. So this would basically make it easier for towns, again, at local option, if they want to regionalize services or share, share equipment or share services. So this is a bill that's passed the House and it's pending in the Senate. It's in the Senate Ways and Means Committee, so I'm just working to get the bill passed this session. The second bill, which is one that I think you're familiar, I've done a lot of work on, is water infrastructure, is significantly increasing the state's investments in water infrastructure, as well as encouraging more green decentralized infrastructure. So that's Senate 2021, an act improving drinking water and wastewater infrastructure. So that's passed the Senate, and hopefully will pass the House. And I know there's been many conversations in town about water issues. And then the third bill, which has been signed into law, which I mentioned before, is the Transportation Bond Bill, House 4046. So this will expend $13 billion over the next 5 years for transportation. One of the priorities that I heard from this board and from Keith is the Chapter 90 money for roads and bridges. So the legislature approved it at $300 million. The governor in the end decides whether to authorize to allow the money to be spent. So we're still working with the governor to make sure he spends that full $300 million. But it is in the transportation bond bill. And then another priority, which I really commend this board's leadership on, is the Complete Streets program, which Littleton already adopted and is been nationally recognized for adopting it. One of the first towns in the Commonwealth to adopt the Complete Streets program. So in the bond bill is $50 million that now the town of Littleton could apply for and access funding to make sure that you have sidewalks and better support for people looking to have all available means of transportation around town. So that's something that I'm hope Littleton can take advantage of, and certainly look forward to working with you to, advocate support for that funding coming to Littleton. And beyond that, some of the questions I got that Keith sent earlier, one of them was about the Fitchburg Line Working Group and the commuter rail, so that continues to go well. It looks like there is going to be a little bit of a delay on the completion of the project because of some delays in the South Acton train station and getting some of the steel to complete the new station there. And then, even though this won't be a delay, the challenge I'm having right now is AIR has funding to build a parking lot, but there's issues over access. So because a private property owner owns the land next to the station. So I was just out there last night for a meeting, and so we're just looking to make sure there's access, and that will allow the parking lot to be built for about 100 spots. And, obviously I'm working to advocate for more parking at the Littleton station, but I think, any more parking, especially in this area, is good for the whole line and for commuters in Littleton. So that's something I'm working on. And I don't know if, Keith, I got a note about the House 3839. Did you want me to discuss that?
Yeah, just to tell us officially what.
Yes,
didn't happen.
officially some bad news. So this is a home rule petition Littleton filed regarding 40B. I know the board has been in a lot of negotiations over some of the 40B projects and has done an excellent job in negotiating, but I understand there's still some frustration with the state law. So Littleton at town meeting passed a home rule petition. I chair the housing committee, and we didn't hear a lot of discussion about reforms to 40B, and it's always a difficult issue. So all the bills related to Chapter 40B were sent to study. So the bill that Littleton filed did go to study. I would say generally, when you're looking to change a state law, it's rare for a home rule petition. In other words, it's rare for a state law to change just for one town. It would need to be a statewide reform. So I look forward to working with all the communities in my district about, a statewide reform, but it did not happen this session. And then the third bill, which really, I think on the issue of zoning reform, the bill is House 3216, an act promoting the planning and development of sustainable communities. It's extremely dense bill, which I brought one copy of the summary for you.
Summary, yeah.
We've talked about this at the Magic meetings. But basically, it's a zoning reform bill, so it's everything from allowing towns to transfer development rights to how they change zoning, how to encourage more multifamily housing, how to protect open space, and really how to help a town see through the vision it has in terms of its master plan. So the bill has been reported out of the Municipalities Committee. It's in the House Ways and Means Committee, and I've done a lot of work on this over the years. There's always going to be people who comment on whether or not they like the bill, but, I think it's generally a good compromise, and it's a bill that's before the House Ways and Means Committee. And I think it speaks to a lot of the things that the town and this board has already done in terms of things like complete streets and, some of the smart growth zoning that the town's already done. But this would, of course, be a statewide reform. So those are the questions I received from Keith, and again, the best part of these interactions is questions from the board members, so I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have about other budget line items that the Senate passed or any other policy that's before the legislature. Our session ends on July 31st, so that means that any sort of substantive legislation has to pass by July 31st, and then we end our formal session for the year. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and thanks again for having me.
Just a couple on the transportation, just to follow up on some of the information. One was, I know there was the 50 million authorization for complete streets in the bond bill. I asked Secretary Davey about how that's coming last week, and he said, well, there's an authorization, but there's no appropriation. So I guess he was throwing the ball back to the legislature for that part.
It's giving the governor the authority. Now, obviously, the person who will grant that will likely be the next governor, just because there's only 6 months left in the current governor's term, so.
So little time. Actually, that was one of the issues that we raised, especially in talking with the secretary about commuter rail. If we have a target right now, January of 2016, for when the Fitchburg line improvements will be complete, the point at which the MBTA could hopefully enhance service on the line because the capital improvements will be in place. The current administration will not be there beyond January of 2015. So sort of the question was, what can we get the current administration to do for us in the meantime, apart from a memo to the file, to sort of position ourselves to be able to move and make progress. And that's sort of where we're at now. But I know that the Fitchburg Line Working Group is looking at probably having our legislators help us corral, all the players and come up with our list of wants so that those are known by whoever gets elected. So.
Right, exactly. I'm just glad that the state money and federal money is secure for the improvement, so we don't have to worry about that going away. But obviously, in terms of the service, and what I'm hoping is for Littleton to have the same level of service as South Acton. That is the plan, and that would include, the same number of direct or express trains in and outside of Boston.
Board members?
I got a few questions for you. One about your, 2021, the drinking water.
Oh, yeah.
So you mentioned infrastructure improvements. Is there funding? Is there going to be funding, or is it an authorization? And if so, has anybody thought about the process of applying for some grants, or what that process will look like yet?
Yeah, I should have gone in more detail about the bill, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim, for asking. But, so the bill, and this is, it's included in the summary, but it increases by $50 million the amount of money, either grants or loans that towns or water districts could apply for. So that would be something, it's through the Treasurer's Office, the SRF program, but, legislators, including myself and Rep. Arciero, would write letters of support if Littleton or the water district wanted to apply for that money. And then in the bill is $3 million in technical assistance. Now, to some extent, I would say Littleton probably wouldn't need that because you have such a sophisticated water district here. But if the water district or the town wanted to apply for that money, that would be available.
I mean, we've done and I bring it up for the wastewater side too, where we've done some studies for the downtown.
Oh, yes.
And, I think the next level being some type of design. We just did a feasibility study. It needs to be brought out, so, again, same type of process for that, for those types of grants?
Yeah, I would say that, so you could, certainly that money would be, that project would be eligible for this new program, or the Mass Works grant program, which is, the Point Development got some of that money for improvements to the road. That same money, that same program could be made available for water or master plan downtown improvements.
Okay. Was there any talk, I heard a little bit, but really haven't heard much about expanding the bottle bill? Have you heard anything, or is there anything?
Yes, I am on the bottle bill subcommittee trying to craft a compromise on the bottle bill. So we did actually submitted our report this morning to the Telecom Utilities and Energy Committee, which oversees the bottle bill. So we're recommending that the bottle bill expands to bottled water and juices, but large bottles would be exempted because I think there's a sense that, the prime reason for the bottle bill is to prevent people from, throwing the bottle at the park or on the street if they happen to be carrying it in their car. They're much less likely to have, a 2-liter of soda carrying it around. So that wouldn't.
$4.95.
So that would not have a deposit. Yes, that was
So
the.
you're only going for the small 8-ounce bottles?
Half full.
Hopefully more than full. Yep.
So what's your feeling, next session that'll be brought up?
No, it could be put into the FY15 budget. So we're working hard to pass it, because if it doesn't pass by the legislature, then advocates will bring it to the ballot, and the people will vote on it in November. So I think one way or another, I think it'll be law by the fall, and it could be law within a matter of weeks.
Okay. Unrelated to some of your bills, you have any insight as to your new Senate president, or has there been any discussion of your leadership roles in the Senate?
Well, the next Senate president is quite clear, because it's been reported in a lot of the papers since a few months ago, but the next Senate president will be Senator Stan Rosenberg, who's a state senator from Amherst, who's been a long-serving legislator and senator. So he'll be the next Senate president, and hopefully I'll have the chance to move up. We'll see.
All right, well, let's hope so.
Yep.
Bertie?
Yeah, thanks. I want to go back to Senate 2021 for a second.
Sure.
In the funding mechanisms for this, is there a weighted scale for grants or the funding for like preservation of watershed, aquifer areas, development of drinking water, conservation, infrastructure improvements, because we've all seen the news footage of billions of gallons of water spilling out in the street in the 1940s, water main, stuff like that. Is that weighted more so than the downstream end?
And it would, if the bill passes, it'll be called the Mass Clean Water Trust. That would only be for water infrastructure improvements. I think you make a great point about, protecting aquifers by purchasing open space. So the place for that is in the environmental bond bill. So that's money that's set aside to purchase open space, including to protect aquifers. I had actually tried to create a new program in the water infrastructure bill, but I was not successful. But it is generally available to protect any open space in the environmental bond bill.
Does the bill limit itself any way or define any way between, well, I'll use upstream and downstream again, the source versus disposal?
No, it doesn't. I think there are bonus points, though, for decentralized or green infrastructure, so sort of more innovative ways to treat water or protect the water supply. It probably doesn't exactly answer your question, but it doesn't weight it versus, downstream versus upstream. That's not, that hasn't been changed in the bill.
Okay, thanks.
Just one quick retrospective question. Complete Streets program. So I want to hear how we did really good on that and what we did to get good status so we can apply for the funding.
Yeah, well, the town adopted the town adopted the Complete Streets program,
Yeah,
is
the
that
Board of
right?
Selectmen adopted a complete streets policy, which was actually drafted by MAPC's
Right.
planners. And it was rated in a competition sponsored by the National Smart Growth Alliance. And it was judged to be the #1 of its kind in the nation. And
Yeah,
again,
it's
I
great.
mentioned to the Secretary that Mass DOT was number 11. But that his roads are almost more important in achieving those goals. So if it
Right.
comes to having pedestrian-friendly, if it's sidewalks, if it's bike, bike lanes or something, that we would like to get some accommodation out of the state government for those sorts of things. as well.
Right, so I would really arguably say Littleton's probably the first town of any other community in Massachusetts to receive that in terms of its planning and the forward thinking of adopting it so early.
Fantastic.
Yep,
But we would like the money.
Yeah, that's the
Absolutely.
Bottom
Yep.
line, Jamie, bottom line.
Jenny, just terminology, why do they say sent a study? Why don't they just say crushed or?
Yeah.
Sounds so
It's being
much
polite
nicer.
to the legislator who filed it, so.
My question you already answered, because I was in contact with Selectman Hillman from AIR, because my concern.
Oh, yes.
My concern with the transportation and parking up there was that eventually would overflow, would come to Littleton.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had talked to him, he didn't seem to have much of a response, but obviously you said you were up there. Can you just give me a quick brief on, I know there was a problem, it's not a Littleton issue, but that could be a Littleton issue if the overflow comes to our town. Is that going to be resolved?
And do you mean you mean in terms of people parking,
Well,
or?
the problem they had with the easement to
Oh, okay,
get
yeah.
across with that private property owner.
Right. So basically, actually, former Congressman Meehan and then Congresswoman Songus made sure to secure the federal money for the parking lot, and then I worked to secure state money for the parking lot. But the parking lot can't be built until the accessibility issue is addressed, including make sure there's the access to the Air train station is available for those who are disabled, making sure there's a clear path. And so that still hasn't been addressed, and so until that gets addressed, the money can't be spent to build the parking lot. So I do expect will be addressed within, I'd say, about a month or two. And I talked to Selectman Hillman about it Saturday, and I think we're going to have a meeting with every stakeholder in AIR within the next month. Yeah, but until that access issue is addressed, the federal government won't release the money.
And one thing, there's, something was mentioned, money being spent for regionalization for regional, I might have misunderstood it. Transportation money for only regional schools? They were trying to get an increase, or would it also
Oh, yeah.
include a town like ours that isn't regionalized?
Yeah, I know that's a sore subject for non-regional school districts, but there is money for regional school districts for reimbursement for regional school transportation. It's basically seen as a way to incentivize schools to regionalize. That being said, there used to be a line item, I think in the 1990s, that the state paid for, school districts like Littleton. So the state had a reimbursement, and that unfortunately went away in the 1990s. We've worked to try to bring it back, but there's no money in that account in the budget for this, for FY15. So it's only for regional school districts, so Acton, Boxborough, Air, Shirley, but not for Littleton, so we'll keep working on it.
Just to follow up to Joe's question about the issue up in there,
Yes.
If that doesn't get resolved, the project still chugs on. We're not gonna slow down the project in regards to the expansion of the rail system.
Oh, no, you mean just the improvements to the entire?
Correct.
Yeah, that continues to go on, yep, so this is just a parking issue. So, and I didn't mention as clear as I should have, but we're working with MAPC right now on the study to look to see if Littleton would like to expand its parking at the Littleton train station. So I work with MAPC to get that.
Cloverleaf coming off 495 and Route 2 may be,
Someday.
helpful.
It's up to the town, so.
Nothing,
Get them in and out,
nothing
instead of
about
going on
$100
Foster
million.
Street.
Yeah, right. Yep,
So, all
yep.
right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
So thank you, and I look forward to seeing everybody on June 21st for the tercentennial, and we'll have a proclamation for the governor, so I'm really, really excited for it.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot, great to see you.
Good luck in your next session and your
Yeah.
appointments.
That's right. Thanks.
Oh, board, we move on to annual town appointments. I did talk to Keith about this, and it was decided that we'd try to separate it into two separate meetings, so it wouldn't be a long agenda item. So we start off with, I think, 4 today, being the Historical Commission, the Community Television Advisory Group, Permanent Municipal Committee, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I think, in most cases, if not all cases, the number of vacancies is the same as
Equals the number of applicants.
applicants. So,
Any applicants here? or-
Luck of the draw, right?
starting with the Historical Commission, do we have the applicants here?
I saw Linda moving. Yeah,
Linda.
there they are.
Linda's here and Jonathan, yeah.
And Jonathan, would you like to make any comments?
It's been a pleasure working on the commission, and I think we've got a lot of work doing now. Until this time, things have been sort of a little plaque here and something, but we have a big project, as I'm sure you know, and we thank you very much for your support on this, for the reconstruction of the Long Store, and we're starting working on that. We had a meeting with Bonnie about the procedures for bidding and so on, and this is all new for us. People had a $700 budget all this time, and now we have $20,000 and something to spend, so that's not a whole lot, but for us, it's a big step forward, and we appreciate your support on this. I think I can say fairly for all of us.
Linda?
I concur totally with my colleague.
Okay, board.
Ready? Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Linda Stein and Jonathan Leibowitz to a term on the Historical
Historical Commission,
Commission.
2017.
Their term expiring 6/30/2017.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work that you do. Now, the Littleton Community Television Advisory Committee. We have 3 openings, Alan McCray, David Sill, and Nancy Hilsinger.
There's Nancy, I don't see Dave Sill.
Hi, Nancy, would you like to say anything?
Just that I really enjoyed my work. I've been volunteering at the station since last summer. I took Mark Corey's video production class and got immediately focused in learning and doing video editing ever since. So now I'm doing, I never thought I'd be doing this, but it's great to do something different and that I really enjoy. So I love it. I think this is a good way to increase my involvement, and I think it's great.
Thank you. Alan?
Well, thank you. We're delighted to have Nancy. We have a number of people who come in and want to do various things, but getting a good editor, and she is a good editor, is just special for us. So I recommend highly that you Boy, Nancy. I don't know where David is. Maybe he has a conflict of some sort. But David's been on the committee for quite a long time, and he's very, very good. We appreciate all the efforts he makes, and I recommend that you appoint him. As for me, I've been there for 15 years. I'd like to stay. We've been by the studio, you know, that it's really state-of-the-art, it's really terrific. We have our new van out front with all the logos on it now, so we can take it on the road whenever we need to, the marshmallow. So we're really, really, really pleased with that. So if you watch channels 8 and 9 and 38 and all the Verizon channels, you see that we're doing lots and lots of good stuff. And there's more things coming along. The 300th anniversary, just we're overwhelmed with things for that. So if people don't know what's going on, they're just not watching.
I'm a huge fan of LCTV. Okay.
Mr. McCurry.
So 15 years, huh?
Thereabouts, yeah.
15 more?
No.
But given your perspective and how far we've come in that period of time, where do you see it going? What do you see down the road a little ways?
Well, you know, we're really working very hard with the government side. We've got lots of government programming. What we really, really need to do more of is to bring in independent producers, like my wife Barbara, like
Bob Spinozzi.
Spinozzi, thank you, like Bob Spinozzi, people who think up ideas, come up with programming, and make it happen. We'd like to see more of that, and I think we will. Beyond that, one of the things we're doing that people probably don't know is that we're working with Boxborough, who does not have anybody to run their operation. They have televised their town meeting, and that's kind of it. And they've asked us to put together a proposal to provide government services for them, for their Board of Selectmen, and several other committees, which we have done. And we're waiting to hear back from them. As a gesture of goodwill, Mark and the whole crew went over and did their annual town meeting for them, free of charge this past year. I went 2 nights, maybe 3. We were surprised. We thought Boxborough certainly wouldn't go more than 1 night, but they have a different way of doing things than we do. But in any event, that's something that's happening. So as we grow, maybe we'll branch out, who knows?
We just heard the senator say there's money available for regionalization. There may be some state funding available to help you out.
There you go.
Something to look into. Have Mark take a peek at it. See if there's some grants that possibly can get you new equipment, expand your services, or get more help,
Yes.
full-time help.
Totally.
On the,
So, if you've got any ideas, if there's anybody out there listening, if you want to do some programming, please come down and see us. We'll train you, we'll help you, we'll guide you.
on the government side, and one of our goals, of course, for a long time has been to get more televising of meetings.
Right.
How are we doing with that?
We're doing well. We now are doing live for the Council on Aging, which was one of those groups that was reluctant to come on board. And we're doing them live now, and they're enjoying it. They think it's a great idea. We're bringing more and more boards on all the time. So I think we're doing really well. I would ask the technical issue while we're talking about it. You each have a microphone. Don't push them so far away from you. We'd like to be able to hear what you say. And also,
Maybe you don't.
the people in the back,
Say that like we
well,
don't know what we're doing.
if you know what you're going to say, just move it a little bit.
No, we did that.
You press the.
There you go.
The joy buzzer, the light goes off.
Should be wireless.
Don't say anything?
Yep.
We're gonna have a blooper reel, highlight hits show.
We haven't done that to the Board of Selectmen.
Good,
yet, but,
that's good.
There are archives, we can't do that if you'd like to see.
Didn't have to be Board of Selectmen, could have been.
Yeah, why did you jump to that? We want to see this.
They'd have some good ones if they did the Board of Selectmen.
I'll get on this.
Motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Alan McRae, David Sill, Nancy Hilsinger to a term, to a term on the, Littleton Community Television Advisory Committee for a term expiring June 30th, 2017.
Yes. Yeah, with
Oh,
the
16.
exception that Nancy's would be
Oh, right.
2016. Yep.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great, thank you.
Moving on, the Permanent Municipal Building Committee, 2 openings, Carl Bryant and Richard Crowley. Is Carl here?
Yep, Carl's there.
Carl, you'd like to say anything?
There's Carl.
Hey, you can come up if you'd like.
Oh, come on
Come
up.
on down.
Well, I just say that the past 5 years, I'm up for reappointment. The past 5 years have been, in hindsight, gone quickly, and a couple of big projects in the beginning, the new police station and the Russell Street School renovation, a lot of other smaller projects, and since there was no one calling me to take my place, I decided there's still some unfinished business that I like to do, particularly the COA kitchen. And a lot of other projects coming up, and with the impact of the facility study that's has been well received and being implemented. Looking forward to another busy, good term.
Thank you. Mr. Crowley?
Yes, this marks my 10th year,
Oh.
if you guys reappoint me. 10 years ago, when I got on the building committee, we were coming out of kind of a disastrous era in building. We had just done the high school, and that was like a year and a half late. It was a lot of money overdue. And we went right from that into the sewer project, the sewer pump station project for the town hall, Russell Street, and the middle school at that time. And from that point on, we've had on time, on budget, no litigation. Amazing, amazing results in the state of Massachusetts for public bid work. Now, with all due respect to all the previous building committees, it was a different environment back then. It was before construction reform of 2004-5. And it was a very, very hostile litigatory market. And the contractors that were out there were generally aggressive, tough, used litigation as a form of revenue. I know, because I worked for one of those guys before I got on the building committee. Construction reform made a big difference. So those building committees prior to that time really had their hands full. Today, it's a much different environment. Contractors are working together. We have the CM, Construction Manager Risk process right now that I'm doing up in Andover with the town of Andover on a new school. It's just it's a totally different environment where you have a contractor, an architect, and owner all working together as a team for the same goal. And it works really, really well. MSBA, Massachusetts School Building Authority, the ones that are working the school side. DCAM is the one that works the state side. And we, the individual towns, are out there by ourselves doing our own thing. So we have a lot of good resources on our building committee. We have Steve Moore. He manages, like I do in the construction business, he manages the billion-dollar stuff. I manage the million stuff. We have guys on our building committee that manage construction, houses. So we have almost everything covered, almost every kind of gamut covered. MCPPO certified, that's Massachusetts Certified Purchasing Official, similar to what Bonnie is. So there's in the state of Massachusetts, we're very unique with the purchasing rules. So having that expertise on this board is a real plus, because it's very difficult to get people in the state of Massachusetts, ordinary citizens, to understand the public bid process and the use of file subs or trade contractors, and paying the wage, minimum wage that you have to pay, when it's very unusual for normal, average citizens to understand how that whole process works. So, that said, I'd like another term if you'd grant it to me.
Thank you. Any questions on the board?
Just a quick comment. I've often said that I'd like people who are applying to provide more information. I would like to congratulate you on providing tons of information.
Well, I have a few words to offer. Thank you very much.
Move the vote. Ready? I'm sorry. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Carl Bryant and Richard Crowley to the Permanent Municipal Building Committee for the term expiring 2019. Sorry, 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded to make those appointments. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, moving on to the zoning board of appeals. Before I open it up with names, I do have a statement from the Board of Appeals. At the meeting of the zoning board of appeals held on May 22nd, the board made the following motion. The motion was made by Cheryl Hollinger to recommend that the Board of Selectmen reappoint Jeff Yates and John Cantino as members and Patrick Joyce as an alternative member, each for a 3-year term, seconded by John Cantino, and the vote was 5-0. Are any of those individuals here tonight?
No. Ready?
All set then.
Move that the Board of...
Request, Mr. Chairman, can we vote on these individually, please?
Sure, if you'd like.
Okay, move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint John Cantino to the term on the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term expiring 2017.
Seconded.
So moved and seconded for John Cantino for the Board of Appeals. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Moving on.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Jeffrey Yates to the term on the Zoning Board of Appeals with the term expiring June 30, 2017.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded for Mr. Yates for the Board of Appeals. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Patrick Joyce to the term on the Zoning Board of Appeals with the term expiring June 30, 2017,
As an alternate.
as an alternate.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Moving on to 5A, Community Preservation Grant Agreement with the Congregational Church. I see we have Reverend Sweat and congregation members. Before we take a vote to talk about this, is there anything you want to talk about the project?
Warren Carroll has gone off to Prince Edward Island, so is not here to give you much detail. We, are pleased that the Conservation Commission had worked so hard for us to receive these funds, and we have, I think they have gone out to, well, I know they have gone out and found, just the right person to do the preservation. But beyond that, I don't have any particular details.
We just wanted to be here to, again, express our appreciation to the town. We're looking forward to completing the renovation project, although we'll just be doing 4 windows this year. But I would just add that I'm sure Warren has said before, the Congregational Church has been a significant part of the town of Littleton since it was founded, not only as a community of faith, but in terms of being actively engaged in civic activities. So we take that legacy and our historical involvement with the town very seriously, and we look forward to just continuing to be a church that's actively engaged in the community around us as we go forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Board, anything?
Just to say that the town meeting had voted a grant award in the amount of $45,488. That's for 4 stained glass windows, as you indicate. Warren had said it's 4 windows on the north side of the church building, which are shown as numbers 5 through 8 on their plan. And the cost of the work that's being done is almost $60,000, $59,600. So the grant funds constitute about 3/4 of the total cost of the project that's being undertaken. We had come up with the form of a grant agreement that we'd used for the clock tower repair project at the Baptist Church. We're using that same template for this agreement as well.
And so all the work on the 4 windows is expected to be done by the end of the year? Is that the goal?
It should be, and that's the plan. I believe they expect to start at some point this summer, and the window project should be done by the end of the year. We're doing some other renovations, which will take longer, but the hope is that the windows will be done summer and early fall.
I just have one comment, the church working with the town for the Church Meadow property too, so we appreciate that support, and I think as a community, we've both gained in regards to making Littleton an outstanding place to live, so.
So could I make one comment in regard to that? Sure. At the town meeting, there was a person who, it was a good discussion, and we expected some discussion, some back and forth, and a variety of issues. But there was one comment that I would speak to, which was that we had gone to the town originally, at the beginning of when we were looking to sell Church Meadows, asking, almost begging the town to buy that from us so that we could do our renovations. Just to set the record straight, that was not the case. We had actually several offers for that land from developers, which were more than the land was assessed at. So we as a congregation, because we wanted to work with the town, because we're committed to the vision for open space, went back as a congregation, our congregational process, we wrestled within ourselves and actually said, even though we could sell that for $20,000 or $30,000 more, we did not want to do that. We wanted to do everything we could to sell it to the town. So we had actually several members who dug into their pockets and made up the difference so that we as a church could say, hey, we can sell this to the town, but we actually sold it to the town for less than we could have sold it to someone else. It was a great town meeting. That was the one piece of information that I found frustrating.
I think what was really clear going through that process was your patience with it. Because all the while you had an offer on the table that would have vaulted your project forward with a greater amount of cash. And in my involvement with that, I found your patience to be incredible and your desire to try to do what's right for the community. So I hope that whoever said that or was thinking that understands that it's truly the opposite. It was your patience that got us that piece of land for the town. So.
As I said, the church has been a part of this town since its very beginnings, and we're committed to the town. So that patience, we felt like it was a win-win. We could say we contributed something to this town, and we greatly appreciate the town's support in terms of the grant. Although I think the grant stands by itself because those windows are very historical And that's what it's about. It's not about anything else. Our commitment to the town is separate from that as well.
I look for motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to execute an access and maintenance agreement with the Congregational Church of Littleton for the payment by the town of $45,488 for the stained glass window historic preservation project authorized by Article 8, Item 11 of the May 5th, 2014 annual town meeting.
Seconded.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Oh, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and
Thank
good
you.
luck in your project.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, if you could take over the next section, I gotta go sit in front of you.
Certainly. All right, then the next agenda item is the entertainment license under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 181. It's to grant a license to Joseph S. Knox of 10 Brandy Hollow Road for the Kelly
Miller Circus.
Village Circus. Mr.
Mr.
Knox?
Mr. Chair, this is just a handout of what the circus is all about as far as who is performing. As many people know, I think I counted up, this is the 11th time that I've, as an organization, have brought the circus to the town. Every time we do it, we turn the entire proceeds over to a department or organization. In this case, it'll go to the 300th anniversary, which we did back in 2011. The background, the Kelly Miller Circus is based out of Hugo, Oklahoma. They're on the road. They're in 212 cities a year. They get up every morning at 5 o'clock, move to the next town or city, set up by 9 o'clock. They have the grand show, putting it up with the old-fashioned way with the elephant. They invite people, townspeople, to come down. They invite people to see how it's actually done. They invite people down to take a look at how the animals are actually handled. In this case, it's a one-day circus for our town. It's on July 1st. It's a Tuesday, with shows at 4:30 and 7:30. Tickets actually went on sale today officially, although the pre-marketing tickets were also sold by a separate company. And they're on sale for a number of different stores, and even with Littleton Park and Rec. And the tickets are $10 for an adult, $6 for a child, and anyone under 2 is free. It's a great summer event. It's a one-day in and out, and it's not a heavy money maker, but it does make some money. And as far as entertainment goes, we usually draw, with 2 shows, maybe a total of 1,500 people for the show.
It's always a great time. Members, any questions?
Well, it looks great. You got a fire eater, all sorts of balancing act, all sorts of good stuff. Looks fantastic.
I noticed on the back, there was a part, on our packages, a part that was circled that talked about the company and their relationship with the state. Is that resolved, or is it a problem? I'm thinking it is or isn't a problem, but it starts, the last paragraph says no license shall issue, et cetera, et cetera.
No, as a matter of fact, there's no...
Yeah, that's what, in the motion that you make is, as the statute provides, is contingent upon obtaining the insurance. So that was the only point for including that. And they do obtain the insurance. It's the same procedures that we've had in the last couple of years.
Plus, they're heavily regulated by federal and state and local. And as far as our town goes, I have to go through a building permit, a Board of Health permit, the entertainment license, make sure we can acquire water, have the trash pickup all the line. All that's been done except for my entertainment license, which I want to thank Mr. Bergman about, because I completely forgot about our own license.
So I see we have the 2 chiefs here and some department heads. Chief King?
No problem whatsoever. Great venue last time.
Chief Krasinski?
No problem with the fire department. We'll be supplying details for it as well.
Mr. Clyde?
No issues either.
Mr. Bernier?
Permit's been issued.
Fantastic. Look for a motion?
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to MGLC 14181 to issue an entertainment license to Joseph X. Knox, 10 Brandy Hollow, Littleton, Mass. for 2 shows of the Kelly Miller Circus on Tuesday, July 1st, 2014, at 4:30 and 7:30 p.m. at the Russell Street Baseball Field, subject to the applicants first obtaining certificates of insurance for workers' comp and public liability as required by MGLC 14181.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Knox.
You've done very fine, Mr. McCready.
I was waiting for you, I was going to keep quiet until you finally looked at me.
We should be moving on to Mr. Archer, who is present, but I can't find his.
Yeah,
5C.
5C, yeah.
Mr. Archer, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I know that you have talked to some of us and the town administrator about changing some of the wording that was first put on our agreement with you as far as a beer and wine license. Could you explain what it is that you want to change for the public?
Yeah, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Gary Archer. I own GW Archer in Littleton, 5 King Street. What I'd like to do is I'd like to amend bullet number 2. Basically what it states is minors under the age of 21 are not allowed to be employed by this business, my business. And I'd like to see if the board would remove that. And the reason I'm asking that is because I'd like to be able to hire people to help me on my business, whether it's cleaning my facility, pumps, putting groceries away, doing landscaping, helping out with other things that would need to be done. I'm not asking for a minor under the age of 21 to sell alcohol. I'm not asking them to stock it or do anything with it. If they happen to be on the register, I usually have them 18 and older. If they happen to be on the register, probably like similar businesses in town, I'd ask that clerk to step aside and have a person of age, proper age over 21 to make the sale at that point. So they wouldn't be there by themselves at any time. It's just someone that can, I have peak times when I can have college students come in and they're looking for some opportunities for the summer. And there are times when I like to, offer that to some young individuals that could use a job to help with school.
Just as a reminder of where we got to this, actually, prior to the board adopting the particular language that's now requested to be removed, that there was nothing in our local regulations which specified how old you could be to sell alcohol, and frankly, the statute tells us what the answer is. And so after reviewing it with Chief King, and Town Council, there are 2 recommendations we can make. Number 1, that there's no objection to deleting the clause, condition number 2, that you originally approved. You don't have that clause in effect for any other licensee in town. And I think the only reason we put it in was that Gary, during his hearing, said by way of example, here's a set of requirements that the town of Ayer does, that the Ayer Selectmen do, and that happened to be one of them, so you adopted them as a set. Since then, Ayer struck that number 2, that condition number 2 as well, and also relies on the statute. I'm not sure what was behind putting that language in the first place, but what the statute says, and we've cited it in here, it says, in 138-34, it says, nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit any person licensed under this chapter from employing any person 18 years of age or older for the direct handling or selling of alcoholic beverages or alcohol. Notwithstanding, a licensee under this chapter may employ a person under the age of 18 who does not directly handle, sell, or mix alcohol. That's what the state law provides now. I'm not sure what would be accomplished locally by having, out of the, the dozen or so licensees that we have, you right now got one licensee who has a different standard. Everyone else has the statute as their standard. So at that from that standpoint, it didn't seem an unreasonable request. Secondly, procedurally, the question to town council was if the board wanted to grant the request and go with the amendment, do you need another public hearing to do that, or can you just vote to do it? And town council's opinion is that you can just vote to do it without a hearing. So you can grant the request as made.
Board members?
So to be clear on what the statute says about 18-year-olds, I'm not quite sure I understood that.
It says, nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit any person licensed under this chapter from employing any person 18 years of age or older for the direct handling or selling of alcoholic beverages or alcohol. That's what the statute says. And it says, notwithstanding that the licensee can hire someone under 18 so long as they do not directly handle, sell, mix, or serve alcohol. That's what the statute says, so.
The Donovan does. I know that's English.
Chief?
When this came up, I checked at the several different establishments we have, and basically what the statute states is a person between 18 and 21 can sell alcohol as long as there is a person over 21 who's acting as manager in the establishment. Like, right now, Chip Shots has a couple people that are under 21, between 18 and 21, that are waitresses that are serving, and Donald's has several individuals who are 18 that are on the registers. If someone comes to the register with a person who's under 18, they do not even touch the alcohol. They back away from it, call the manager over, the manager handles the sale if they're under 18, just like the statute requires. So so going back to what the statute says, is the smartest way to do it at this point.
So in your establishment, you'll have somebody 21?
Yes, at all
Yes,
times.
at all times?
Yes.
So that'll cover the...
And I'm not looking to have anyone under the age of 21 even touch. That's a policy that I have, and I just don't want to do that. I think it's just the right thing to do, and there's no pressure on anyone.
Good.
Makes good sense to me.
You ready?
Mr. Sussman?
Steve Sussman, Lake Warren Drive. Is this a new license for the town?
It's a modification to an existing. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the request of G.W. Archer, Inc., Gary W. Archer, manager, to amend the retail package store license for wine and malt beverages granted on February 24, 2014 for the mobile station property at 500 King Street, Littleton, Mass., by deleting condition number 2. 2 is minors under the age of 21 not allowed to be employed by this business, and to rely instead on the standards set forth in Mass General Law, Chapter 138, subsection 34.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Archer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When's it going to be all done? When's the construction going to be
Yeah.
done?
Hoping the end of June, I'm hoping.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Okay.
The point.
Yeah, and next on our agenda is something that
Here's the point.
our board in this town has been looking for an update
Yeah.
for a long time, and people are watching on TV, waiting to see what happens
Yeah.
here. And Sam could not make it.
He could not. He sends his apologies. He was just under the weather today. He did immediately, I think you may have all seen an email, immediately offered to host a site walk to give you the personal review of the project. But we didn't want to cancel the agenda because, as you said, many people are anxiously awaiting updates and what's happening.
So, I'd like to turn it right over to you.
Sure.
Introduce yourself and your position.
Sure. Tim Power with Land Strategies, who's the owner's project manager. So on behalf of Littleton Commercial Investments and Sam Parking Company. So I'm involved in all the day-to-day aspects of the project, so I'm fairly familiar with everything that's going on, can field any sort of questions that come in the end. What I'd like to do, just to give the refresher, I'm not sure if I'll take the whole 20 minutes allotted, but I'm happy to take any questions, as I just wanted to reiterate, again, what our design intent was, to put everything into context, and then I'll touch on some of the leasing progress, and then the construction status at the end, because I think everyone's anxious about that middle one and what's going to be there. So what we started with, the initial goal here of this design was that in Littleton, in this center, was where history meets technology, if you recall. So what we've tried to do, and I think what's being implemented quite well, actually, is that on the larger tenants in the center, which you need to make a successful shopping center these days, we're trying to create the more technology feel and streetscape, which is sort of in front of these two buildings that I've highlighted. And then again, on the upper level, you see a little bit larger spaces to be used, which sort of gets the technical piece in. So it's a little bit more, maybe a little bit more modern looking, but encourages the technology companies that this is a new center and whatnot. But what's key to this, and I think is special to Littleton, which we've always had, is the village feel. So these smaller buildings and these clusters here, and even this building is sort of a bridge building, and these smaller buildings will be designed with the more typical gabled roofs and dormers and whatnot. So it just says I'm learning my technology. So again, you see sort of on the larger buildings on the outside, you can see the market basket there, which is in brick, which you can see from the road, and then the larger buildings going up the hill, which is here and here, is the sort of the newer feel. But then you have, oops, as I zoom in, the more village feel, where you have the pitched roofs, and I have a better image of that to follow. So this is sort of the sense you get of the village feel in the center. I'm going to back up a second because I forgot some of my notes. But what we tried to do as well with the larger tenants is to break up the massing on these buildings. You can see on Market Basket where the sign is, there is it seems like one set of massing, and then there's the canopy that comes out in a second set of massing to try to break up the facade of this so it doesn't feel like one big, massive blank wall. And again, on that building, there's some elements, a clock tower and whatnot, that brings it a little bit more to Littleton scale. A sneak peek here on what we're imagining for the second level with the entertainment. Again, on the site plan, these buildings can be larger tenants, but what we've done is, as you know, we're trying to have a cinema come here. We've actually have the concept of putting smaller tenants in front, again, of the cinema. So this whole building facade up above, represents where the cinema is, but down below, you'll see multiple smaller tenants in front. So again, you don't have one major massing, you have this nice smaller streetscape feel along the way. So that's the overall design intent. The buildings that are under construction now, you can see Market Basket and the second building from afar, but the building on the right in this image, the foundation was just completed the other day. And the building on the left, which is Building D on the site plan, is under construction as well. They're excavating for a foundation. So these are the next two buildings you'll see to go up. The building in peek through is a smaller building with the little sign with the point. Will follow that. This is another, just a picture of the plaza from up above. Again, we're trying to reach down to that pedestrian scale, village sense, the pitched roofs and whatnot, and create a sense of place here that we have. You can see a fire pit right in the middle there. I'm not sure if that's exactly what the fire pit will look like. We're still debating. But that element will be there to welcome people into the center. As a good segue into some of the tenants, you can see a lot of umbrellas. So we have attracted a good amount of restaurants and various eateries, I think. So we'll see a lot of this, and it brings a lot of activity to the center as a whole. So
Implying like outdoor eating? Is that means?
means?
Um,
Umbrellas?
Yes, it depends. Some of them may have like a, an enclosed patio part of the restaurant. Some of them may just be sort of outside of a quick service. There may be a seat or two with an umbrella, but it depends on which restaurant it is. So what I wanted to highlight here as I sort of segue into leasing is again, we have the Market Basket as the anchor. I will give one hint that we'll have the, this building is locked in. I'll get to that. I'll show you some pictures. That will be the hotel on the site. But we have, in keeping with the restaurant feels, we have restaurants at each sort of key point along this road. Again, so as you drive in, there'll be restaurant food service along the spine, which as you're driving in, you'll see all this activity through people out, eating outside, and restaurants just seem to bring more activity than some of the shops. So that's why we've tried to align them right on the edge there for restaurants. And there's actually another restaurant in this location is what we're thinking. The restaurants that we have lined up, some of them I still can't announce the exact names, but I'll tell you very detailed information of the style, only because we don't have ink to the lease, although I'm sure that's what you want, that's the information you want. We have a newer concept, really that hails from Florida, that is a coal-fired pizza concept. If you look up the name, coal-fired pizza, you may figure it out. But I still haven't said who it is. But it's not a pizza joint. It's a full-service restaurant that specializes in an extremely hot coal oven. So it's as Sam used to try to say, this is an uncommon center. It's a new concept, new place to eat, which would be exciting. So they do have pizza, but then they have a full service. We have an Asian hibachi sushi concept going in as a full-service restaurant. We'll have a signature restaurant in Building E on the plan by a local restaurateur who has he's been in the restaurant business for a while, so he's opening a new signature, probably a steak and seafood type restaurant at Building E. He's actually, we're in negotiations for him to take the entire Building E, which would be great, and he's trying to utilize some of the views along the main spine there, so you can look into the wetlands and whatnot as you're eating, rather than just into a parking lot. In addition to that, I think it was already announced Tavern in the Square at the Building C location, right where the C is on the building, will be here as well. So for now, those are the major restaurants. Some of the quick service ones, again, was hoping to have the lease signed before today, but we don't. But we have an agreement in place with a national coffee chain that we were striving for, that we hope everyone will be satisfied with. A higher-end coffee concept.
One that we don't have in town currently.
I do not think you have it in town,
Not
yes.
another Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes. We have some quick service burgers. They seem to be a hot item right now, so we have 2 or 3, but we have one that we're focused on. And a frozen yogurt establishment, which we do have a signed lease, so I can say it was Orange Leaf, which is one of the more popular self-service yogurt companies. Some of the other tenants that are getting infilled that we have in place, I think we'll have a common supplements and vitamin store at one of the cell phone stores. We've always had, for a long time, we've had a kitchen and homeware stores in the mix. We are still coordinating some of the leasing going on in Building B, which are some of the junior boxes. These are the 15 to 25,000 square foot tenants. The best example is the pet store size for a junior box. Some of the tenants we're working in here are somewhat competitive, so I'm afraid to even imply who they are. But I think that the Building B side of those two is probably about 50% committed with tenants. So one of them may, in fact, be one of the national pet store chains to have. And then some other apparel tenants, which are somewhat of the competitive ones that I'm afraid to get into much detail for. So. Those also can, some of those can swap up into Building K for the second, for that upper level. As you can see, those are sort of larger tenants right where the letter K is shown on the plan. Which I guess is a good segue into where we are into construction for the site as well. I believe I have, I'm sorry, let me jump back to the hotel. as a reminder. So we do have an agreement in place, and we hope to close very soon with a developer of hotels who has a Hilton flag. This is the image, the concept image that was approved through Planning Board. The hotel, with assistance from us, went through the Planning Board for some, just to confirm that no modifications were needed to the special permits and whatnot, and they asked to see the architecture of the building. Again, this is because of the larger scale building. It has a little bit more modern look, but what we really tried to do is pull down the pedestrian scale. So you can see this, you're actually looking at the side of the building that faces the center, which is really this elevation here again. And what we did is, I'm zooming in here, you can see the awnings just behind the trees a little bit. When they initially came before the board, the hotel had blank walls here, and these were sort of mechanical rooms and whatnot. So we worked with the developer, who again worked with Hilton, to try to incorporate this side that faces the center to make it feel like it was, not a back of house look, and incorporate it in. So they were happy to do so. They're very happy with the site, very happy with the cooperation they've had in town, and they're anxious to get started as well. They are looking to get started, I believe, in the fall, as early as the fall. As I mentioned, they went through Planning Board. They reviewed their site plan, which was slightly modified with ours with Conservation, and they've got the sign-offs from both of those boards. So I believe all that's left is for them to develop plans to submit to the building inspector, and obviously close the deal with us as well. So this is a current aerial of the site. I believe this was taken in May. You can see the first two buildings that are under construction. We had a little bit of delay getting out of this past winter because winter just never wanted to end, which slowed everyone down. And B, if you can see the sort of these black piles here in the middle, we had anticipated possibly running into some ledge here, but we thought we were going to miss it, and it found out that we didn't miss it. So we had to stop, mobilize the blasting crews, and do a little bit of blasting. Because the other two buildings were already under construction to this state, we did smaller, more methodical blast rather than just blast everything out. Be a little bit more courteous to the neighbors and whatnot, and obviously we didn't want to impact the buildings of our own that were already constructed. So a little bit delay there, but as now if you drive by, you can see some of the foundations coming out of the ground for those, the next few buildings in the middle. Do have some other aerial images, just so you can see from afar the site in relationship to the town center. The site is down on the right, and you can see IBM to the left and the town green just a little bit above that in the aerial. A couple things to note that we, from the very original presentation and starting this, I think we are a little bit off our schedule. Sam was estimating between 6 and 9 months in total, just through various things. Both winters sort of slowed us up. But on the flip side of that, I think we're a little bit closer to the second level, the upper level with the cinema and whatnot getting started. We are currently exporting material from there, which will continue through the summer, but then I think be complete, pending any final designs of what goes on up there. But we're getting the bulk of the dirt out of the site now, so it'll be ready once everything opens. We are on target to have at least the first piece of this development open in the fall. The way it's heading, I think this is going to be opened in steps, if you will, if I can get back to a site plan. That the first step kind of goes with the hill of the site. This is really the first level, and then the second level, and then the third level. So the first step, market basket included, will have some openings in the fall, followed immediately in the spring by the second level with some additional tenants. And then the third level hopefully follows quickly behind that, if not the following spring.
When's the hotel?
The hotel, if all goes smoothly, I think they'll be in the ground in the fall. It will look like a building, completed building, I think in about 8 months is what they told me is their schedule, but then they have a long build-out, so it wouldn't be open for a year from when they start. But everyone will be sitting around going, when is the hotel going to open? It looks done, but I guess they do a lot of work inside along the way. Lastly, I just wanted to note, I'm sorry, for the roadway improvements as part of this. Jim, I saw Jim in the room. He may, if I make any mistakes, let me know, Jim. He's a little bit more tuned in than I am to this piece of the project. But they've come to conclusion they're going to pave the road with finished pavement on August 4th. It was going to be a little bit earlier in July. However, we weren't sure that Verizon was going to have their work done in the road and have the poles out of the way. So they opted to take a couple more weeks, make sure they're out of the way, so we can have clean, finished pavement with no patches in the way. Do want to acknowledge Keith's effort. They were working a little bit, Verizon was working a little bit slower than we had hoped, and Keith was able to help us get a few extra crews out there, so they sent 2 more crews to make sure this was, their work was completed in a timely fashion. So we appreciate that effort.
Our contacts at the governor's office were able to help us out.
And then following that, as soon as the paving is done, the signals will be turned on, and they need to be flashing for 30 days. So we expect by September 1st, the lights will be everything will be paved, and the lights will be fully functional and operational, and shortly thereafter, some stores will open.
Boy, so when should we schedule the ribbon cutting? Most often question asked is, is to make sure it's prior to November. I don't know what else is happening in November, but yes, I do. But a lot of the public officials or legislators in particular who helped the project up till now cut a ribbon prior to November. So.
Sure. Well, we'll have stores open, so I'll defer to Sam on scheduling on that one, but could possibly happen.
And there's the invitation from Sam as well to have the board go on a site.
Yes. Yes.
Is that Friday?
Haven't scheduled it yet, but happy to schedule it. Maybe, I don't know if it's done better through Keith offline here, or we can all break out our calendars now.
Mr. Chair, if I may. Please. So you're keeping, obviously, the public safety, building inspector, highway, all involved in this whole project as you move forward?
Yes. So through, well, for example, the hotel, if there was any modification, they sort of get alerted to something changing on the site plan through that. I think they all know Stefan's first name. Stefan Katrubis is our construction manager who's on the site daily, who I know has been in touch. We know if there's problems on the site or if anything comes up. But I think we've tried to keep an open line of communication as best we can. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to remedy that if that's not the case.
And you're saying that September is a somewhat soft rollout or soft opening?
Yes, that's what we're anticipating now.
And that's just Market Basket alone, or any other?
No, Building F will be, can be delivered about that time, and some of the tenants sometimes like to get in there as early as possible, so they may also open.
Which one's F? F is a restaurant? Did you give us a hint on that building?
F is this one, that has the National Coffee Shop chain, and will also house the Orange Leaf and a couple other tenants as well. So those will be some of the first to open.
So buildings A, F, and G are the first phase buildings?
I'll say A, D, and F.
A, D, and F.
Yeah, building G, because it, although it's gotten a little bit bigger over time. Actually, it got smaller and then got bigger. But some tenants we were trying to lock in, so we hadn't initiated construction yet, but now we're ramping up to start that one this summer as well. So I don't know if they'll be open, but we're hoping that it'll look like a finished building come September with sort of interior work happening.
And you spoke briefly about leasing. 50%, 20%, 30%, what are your projections by the end of the year?
I'd like to say that we have, in all the various negotiations of all the retail buildings that we're working on, I think we're probably about 50%. By September, I'd hope that would be more. If I remove Building C, which was always sort of a hinge between this first level and the second level, I'd say we're a little bit higher, 60, 70% committed. Not all signed leases, but in good negotiations or signed letters of intent.
And J and I office?
Yep, Jay and I don't want to call them Phase 3, but they'll we would like to get everything else up and running because they're sort of off to back, especially Building I there behind Market Basket. Building J, I think, will be a good opportunity for some more ground level retail and office above, is what we're thinking. I'm not sure if Sam brought it up in the past, but for a while there was, the scheme of Phase 2 that might go to just some office or maybe all retail or retail and office. So we're really at the mixed use level there between trying to get a cinema in building L location, some retail, and then office in J on the upper stories of J.
And the access to the cinema is going to be around the back. I think Sam had originally said you drive around the building to get to the cinema. Is that still going to happen?
No.
For access?
I don't remember that.
You might have implied that there's access around the building. We're trying to leave loading. But
He's talked about walking in at street level in the back, and then you're actually on the second floor.
We may. I think I recall that scheme. We've gone away from that. However, the building may be elevated, but I think we're finding the full second floor it might be too much. So maybe like a half a story, but it'll be behind the retail. So this large box here is the cinema building, and then all these little pieces up front are retail in front. But the cinema may be up, and there'll be a lobby coming in this way.
Okay. I just remember him saying that, that's all.
Yeah, just a couple of questions, easy ones. Just curious, so the Hotel Hilton, will it be Homewood Suites, like extended stay?
Yes, an extended stay.
Okay, great. And the fire pit you mentioned, is that just for viewing purposes, or will people be able to hang out around that?
We were going to put some chairs, make it a sort of a hangout spot. We are wrestling with what the fire pit physically is, if it's fully enclosed, and liabilities around that. But, the goal was to have a place to hang out. Sam, I think, actually polled his daughter and all her friends about what they would like to have to see in a place to go and spend time. They said, it'd be great to have a fire pit to sit around, so.
Definitely. It gets chilly. Yeah, as you mentioned, winter never ends here, so
Right.
it's good to have fire. And then with the food establishments, are you looking at any of them that would actually deliver food outside of the point to the people in the town?
I don't actually know. I don't know of any at the moment. And the coal-fired pizza, I'm not sure if they incorporate that as part of their business or not.
I'd encourage that if we can find vendors that also would be willing to,
Deliver out?
Yes,
Okay.
that'd be great.
All right. Duly noted.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Alex? Quickly, when you go back to the hotel, will this hotel be functional as far as having conference rooms, or is it just going to be overnight stays?
I'm trying to recall their program. I don't think they have a large conference facility. I think they may have some smaller space, but I'd like to defer that and maybe give you a follow-up, but I don't believe they have a conference room.
And this wouldn't have their own restaurant. They'd be relying on the restaurants in the point itself to...
Correct. I think they have some very light room service type of service, but they don't have a sit-down restaurant. They do a continental breakfast in the morning.
We're kind of hoping not to have to keep going to Westford if we need a conference
Conferences.
activity here.
I will confirm. I don't, but I can't recall if they do or not.
Not that there's anything wrong with Westford.
It's okay with the board. Can we open it up to anyone who might have a question? Sure. Anyone in the public might have a question? Jen?
How many hotels are you going to have? Just one or?
Pardon me. Jen?
Sorry.
Stand up and say your name.
It's okay.
Jen Stack, 40 Bulkley Road. I just have a question with regards to the location. As I currently see it up there where the wastewater pond, is that the wastewater pond that I see up there? What's the puddle?
Sure, I can tell you.
And I'm just curious, as it relates to the location of the hotel as you have it posited on this scheme, it seems like they're in the same place. I'm just wondering what's up with that.
Yes, so just so everyone else knows, I can highlight these. Right now, where the hotel is, there is a temporary construction sediment pond, right where that circle is. So that's a temporary condition. So before the site gets paved, and there's bare soil and it rains, all that stuff has to get caught somewhere before the wetlands. So nothing to do with the sewage or wastewater. And I'm happy to note that the wastewater treatment plant is behind Building I. It's probably smaller than this room above ground. And then discharges, gets all treated. If you took the water coming out of that and put it in a Poland Springs bottle, you would probably fool everyone in this room as which one was real. Not that I'd ask anyone to drink it, but that's the clarity and the quality it comes out as. And then it gets discharged into the ground, meeting all the, has DEP permits, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate it.
Mr. Asher?
Jen, I apologize.
Oh, no,
I didn't see
worries.
you.
No worries.
Just one, you just said one hotel only, or was there?
Yes, just one hotel on the Building H.
Okay, is it extended stay, or is it going to be?
Extended stay.
Okay.
Yes, about 15 or 20 minutes ago, when I saw the buildings on the screen, they looked like Chelsea. You know, 3 and 4 flat, rectangular buildings. Not very desirable at all. And who wants to live in Chelsea, for God's sake?
Where did you see flat buildings? I thought they
They looked very rectangular and flat.
I'm not sure if this is one of them. This is some of the larger tenants on Phase 2. Again, we're still developing this one. Then you have this is the Market Basket building. And this is the overall. I'm happy to zoom in and elaborate on any of them that might have jumped out, but.
Well, I don't know where, I came in when it was going on, but it seemed very unprepossessing to me, you know. But.
Any other questions? Steve?
Steve Moore, 12 Robinwood Road. Live right up the street from the point. Do I understand that some of the retail will be functional before the streetlights functional?
No, that's incorrect. So streetlights will be on September 1st, and then I don't anticipate anyone opening before then. And we're actually targeting the first person September 15th is what they've told us. So that's actually very important to us, because as I drive out of there every couple days a week, I say a prayer before I make a left turn. So I fully understand your concern.
Richard Crowley from King Street, Littleton. Can you describe and show the walking paths and the pedestrian-friendly elements?
I can. I'm trying to think of the best image to provide that on, which may be the site plan. So we have a sidewalk coming up Constitution Ave here, which I've zoomed in on here. Not sure if I can get my marker back. So from the intersection here, and I know there's a number of sidewalks already there, so have a sidewalk all the way up Constitution Ave and connecting, and then we'll be both along the Constitution Ave continuing, and then up into the rest of the shopping center this way. And then in this immediate plaza, as you come up next to the buildings, you can either continue on the road and in. You can come up here, and we have sort of a larger landscaped island to connect across. There's a number of crosswalks you can see through here getting across the Constitution Ave. From the plaza, we've added these small environmental kiosks, which I think we're scheduling actually for spring construction, that sort of a line with the pedestrian path that you can come across, right across, and then it'll be sort of an arbor, whatnot, and a place to look over the wetlands, things to that nature. And there's 2 of them here again on this side as well, up above. And again, the walking path on the larger buildings, we're trying to have street trees and whatnot, and a little more of a streetscape feel along the front of the buildings to connect. We've tried to have a crosswalk through this whole center of this parking lot as well to connect the 2 buildings going across. Those are the highlights.
Certainly want to thank you for the update.
So Sam, we hope he feels better.
Great.
Tim,
Thanks for all the progress.
this is Sam's banner that I've been,
Yes, he mentioned that.
thank him very much for his donation. That's the extra banner he wants to hang in his office, I guess.
Great. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
I'm sure Chief.
Good luck to Ken. Moving on. This is acting chief, right?
Yep. What have we done?
Chief, would you like to come up?
Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Much to Kirby's chagrin, I'll push his mic back. Good evening. I wanted to come in first off and kind of give you, I've been the chief for approximately a month now, and want to kind of give you a 6-month, a 1-year kind of outline of what I'm looking at, give you an accreditation update, and then talk about some rehirings of positions we lost back in '04. So basically, we're in the finishing stages of the process for hiring for communications officer, which was previously authorized. We're moving through that, and we'll be doing interviews over the next few weeks. As soon as the fiscal year switches, I intend to hold a full departmental meeting of all reserves, full-time officers, and dispatch personnel, obviously to go over kind of the vision, expectations, talk a little bit more about accreditation with them, also, what we're looking as far as in-service training over the next year, and all the trainings that we have to now do to keep us up to the state levels that are required, and how we're going to do those. Also hire the 17th patrol officer, if approved tonight. We can talk about that later. Looking at initiating some new police and service training, a mix of online training and hands-on. Mass Police Institute has come up with an in-service training program that we can do online. So what would happen is the officers, while they're on duty, would be assigned certain times to take these different online programs. We test drove it with myself and the sergeants this year, to see how it worked out. It's obviously not the perfect scenario, but it's a good way to get your reviews in of mass criminal law, motor vehicle law, your ethics training, you can actually even do your first responder training, other than the hands-on of CPR and things like that have to be done with a. So we're going to do that as a mix. That's to conserve the monies that we do have for training, to be able to do some more extensive training for the different positions that we need and we're utilizing. So we're trying to get more efficient as more and more, I guess, regulations, for a better term, get pushed onto the towns with the mandates, and there's no funding for them. We've also taken that we've adopted a year ago that we sent all our officers to motor vehicle driving. And what we're going to do is we're going to start splitting it up on a 2-year term. Half the department will go this year to driving, half will do something else. And then next year, the other half will do specialized training and also motor vehicle training.
because it's kind of hard to send the entire department on a single day and not have anybody to patrol the streets of Littleton. Continuing on with the Mass Police accreditation process, I'll give you an update after going through the outline, but we are moving through that at this time. We're looking at exploring a police canine as a community policing project. We found that we have a need there. More and more, we're utilizing the police canines for searches, for narcotics. It's also a great community policing tool within the schools. The dogs of old are not the canine of today. The dogs today are very user-friendly, very person-friendly. It's great to get them into it's a great icebreaker up in the elementary schools, and it's a great community project that's been utilized by several towns around us. And we've been talking to Westford, Groton, Hudson, New Hampshire, all of them, and it's all funded through the community. And we're looking at that as bringing on a community project. That's just in its infancy right now, but that's a project we definitely are looking for. Looking at developing an employee recognition system, awards night. Want to talk to the fire department about a joint event. We used to do it. We currently have an internal system, obviously, of recognition for police officers and communications officers who do great, things. But I think we'd like to do a yearly program, both with police and fire together, and award not only the officers and the firefighters and dispatch, but also their families too. Recognize the families, because with shift work and holidays and everything else, the families give up a lot to our officers and our firefighters who are working the 24/7 schedules. We're looking at appointing some sort of a staff sergeant within the patrol section who would take more of the administrative tasks that are assigned within that unit. And currently what happens is each of the 4 patrol sergeants are pieced out different parts of the puzzle to make the whole thing work. What I'm trying to do is streamline that a little bit, give more to one. It'll give me the other officers who are on the busier shifts, get the sergeants out there on the road more, don't have them inside as much, trying to maximize as much patrol time as humanly possible. We were working, I'd like to do implement meet the chief down at the senior diner and other places in town, something we started earlier this year. It was well received. Obviously, not only the senior citizens, but everyone has a lot of questions, and if they can come in a relaxed atmosphere, not only meet me, bring different officers down at times, the detectives, the different patrol officers, and something else that kind of goes along with that. I'd like to bring all of you in one night, and maybe even invite you down maybe to the first little bit or first time on the full departmental meeting, and have you come in and just have coffee for a few minutes and say hello to everybody, because while you see somebody here for 15, 20 minutes when you appoint them, especially the people that are on late nights or on the desk, you may not, the board may not really get to meet those people very much. And, for new board members who are coming on who, hopefully haven't met them yet in any bad way, it'd be a good way just to, get to know everybody.
Sounds great.
Continue to develop and implement more programs directed at our seniors. Right now, we're pretty good in the schools. We're pretty good in our youth programs, but I'd like to see us, we do have a liaison, John Janakos, with the seniors, but I'd like to see that program get more robust. There are a lot of people out there trying to prey on our seniors, and it's, up to us to help them, have the tools to recognize, when these scams are coming their way. And there are a lot of scams out there, and there's calls and emails and things every week, and I was just dealing with again today a report that, is a killer of an older woman who has lost about $51,000 to these scammers, and there's really no chance of getting it back, because it's all out of the country, money, and it's just completely unfortunate. Continue on with the 300th parade and fireworks, September 6th. That's going to be a very busy day, obviously. We're going to cut the town in half for a period of time, and the fireworks that night, so September 6th will be a long day for us, but we're in the planning stages of that, and we'll continue to move forward. Come back and talk in September, replacing Chief Kelly's position. Once he is actually officially done in September 3rd, that'll be the currently 16th position. Come back in September, talk about the possibility of an 18th officer, and then if things go well there, hire the 18th officer and replace Chief Kelly's replacement. Obviously, pending much more discussion than's happening tonight or anything else. These are just things I'm looking at. Hopefully attain a certification for mass accreditation. I'll get into that a little bit more in my next section. October, I'd like to start the deputy chief's process. Current planning on that that I'm looking at is doing an outside assessment center, bringing in an outside agency or an outside group come in and do an assessment of the individuals who are eligible to apply for the position. Do that, and then do a internal oral board with obviously with showing all the scores from all those and a recommendation penned by me in the end for the current second in command, because I obviously feel as chief that the second in command is got to have has to have my full support, obviously, and I believe has to have the full support of the board. So that's a process that we'll be discussing. I'll be coming back with some more firm recommendations on that for the board's thoughts on it. Also, at the same time, because we'll be losing a sergeant that's going up to the deputy chief's position, is to simultaneously run a sergeant's promotional process during that time period. And again, I'll be coming forward with some recommendations to the board. All these recommendations as far as internal promotions and hirings are something that need to get done for the next step in the accreditation process anyways. Again, we'll discuss that a little bit more in a minute, but so this is everything that's moving forward as we're going. October, I'd like to start the deputy chief and sergeant's process and move forward. Approximate date of effective date would be January 2015. Continue on with policies, hopefully once accreditation in September. The fiscal 2016 budget. Basically November through June, it's kind of a carryover of everything that was still going on, because I'm sure there'll be a lot from the first 6 months still moving forward. Finish the budget process, hopefully select the K-9 handler, pending approval and policy development. Continue on with policy development, moving towards full accreditation. It's also the Littleton Police Department's 75th anniversary next year. We were actually created February 10th, 1930, whatever it was. So we're going to do a large open house in the spring, and so that's one of our major plannings, and some other events hopefully throughout the year. Open house early spring, which I said, training for the deputy chief and any other developments that arise. Obviously, I know this is a pretty robust one-year plan, but I feel a lot of it's attainable. A lot of it's needed for the department to continue to grow and move forward as this community grows and moves forward. Not only with the opening of Omni, another 40B project in town, and as towns around us continue to grow, I think, it goes to remind everyone that every major road around us to get basically towards Boston or towards the cities feeds. The town is like a wagon wheel spoke, and everything from our center out goes to these communities. Anyone from Groton, Pepperell, Townsend, Shirley, they're coming through Littleton to get to the major highways, whether it be to get to 495 and feed in that way, or to get to continue on down through Acton. So there is the amount of transient traffic within our community is huge. Towns that are 3 times our size don't have the number of transient traffic through it, with 4 exits off the highway, 2 off of 495 and 2 off of Route 2. And also, the regular state highway feeder roads are 2A, 119, 110. So any questions on that, on the one-year system before I move on to a quick accreditation brief?
Anything good?
No questions. I'd just like to say thank you for putting down your plan on paper and sharing it with us. This is great. I think you have a good mix of, supporting the here and now as well as planning for the future. So it's really good to see and look forward to hear, updates as you progress. And I'm not sure if this is something that the other department heads do, is give us an outline like this, but I definitely encourage that and stopping in to give us progress updates. It's great.
I think, Chief, as time goes on, too, I think some of the things you have down here that we'll have a lot more full discussion.
Oh, absolutely. I fully intend to come back with, requests and/or, policy decisions by the board.
Okay. Move on to the next section.
Sure. Just a quick accreditation update where we currently stand today. All the policies for certification have been completed. We're in the process of just getting them numbered and issued. The board over the last 3 years really has approved all the policies needed for the certification part of the accreditation process. We hope to have our mock assessment sometime would be in July, our full assessment in August, and then go before the commission sometime in September for certification. That's only the first step in the process. Then we have to continue on to full accreditation. Under the certification, I think it was 165 standards have to be met. We'll have met all those standards, and then we have another 75 to get up to a full accreditation. The 75 are a little bit meatier than some of the original 165. There's there's some negotiations both with the union, some policy decisions that the board has to adopt as far as hiring goes and things of that nature. So those policies take a little bit more time and effort. We stole a lot of policies in the first one and made sure that they were right for Littleton, but some of these obviously have to be even more crafted for the way Littleton works. So we're right now again we're issuing, we're making sure that our compliance logs are getting updated, and we're showing that we're in compliance, because it's great to show that you've put a policy out, but if you're not complying with it, it doesn't do anybody any good. And we have to be able to prove, especially on certain ones, how we're complying with it, which I know you're familiar with, Mr. Carr, all the different logs and different backup you have to show when the assessors come in.
Document. I have one question, Mr. Chair. Sure. So, you have a very aggressive plan put forward. You have a certification working towards accreditation. You got any help? I mean, who's helping you with all this stuff?
Currently,
do you have anybody helping you?
Yes, Sergeant Pennard and Sergeant Patterson are the two sergeants that are most involved. Currently, Sergeant Pennard has been doing the brunt of it. Obviously, Sergeant Patterson is out for the foreseeable future with a medical issue. But Sergeant Pennard has been great. He's been really the stalwart that's been helping for the last few months and really doing a great job. Bringing in Joe Roy, the retired captain from Westford, to assist was has made it as a guide, has made the process go by so much faster. It was the right thing for us to do as a community. Someone who knows what that process is like, having never gone through the mock assessments or the assessments before and things like that, and to help guide us through help us with policy creation and things of that nature. We're there as the minds of what Littleton needs to do. He's also there to keep us in adherence with the standard. And for those who don't, quick thing on accreditation. Basically, what we're doing is our policies have to adhere to a certain accepted standard that is accepted through the police field, law enforcement field throughout the country, because they're based on national standards out of CALEA, which is the a national organization for accreditation. So I'm not sure that we'll make full accreditation this spring or not. We're going to shoot for it, but we'll keep moving forward.
You're going to be a busy guy.
Okay, if it's okay with the board, can we move on to the staffing?
Okay, I'm requesting to hire an officer, to hire our 17th officer. We're currently at 16 officers. We were at 17 officers until 2004, when through a series of issues. The town lost 3 officers at that point. We've gained 2 officers back since then, back to 16, trying to get back to our 2004 level of the 17th officer. This can be done within our current budget. Some of the reasons for that are, quite simply, we've had some large changes in staff, been able to save some money that way. Had some large changes in patrol officers, and there's been savings off of each time. Some have left, some have retired, a couple went to other jobs. So I'm very comfortable with the budget. I realize that, it stays within my the department's fiscal year 2015 budget, and it's also sustainable under the 2016 budget. Basically, at pretty much a level funding under the 2016 budget. That includes putting in their step increases and things of that nature in the 16 budget. Anything else, obviously, if I know it's a contract year, so any of those things will have to still be figured into that new budget. But basically, my 16 budget is a level funded budget at this point in time. The 17th officer would go on the night shift where we're the shortest. We'd probably be doing looking at some different hours, maybe modified, some 5 to 1 shifts, some things like that, 5 to 1 on, Friday, Saturday nights. This is also, we're trying to get a little bit ahead of the curve, I'll be quite honest with you. We've seen an uptick in calls during that time period, and but I'm also trying to get up ahead of the curve of when the point does come, and have establishments that are open till, more establishments that are open till 1 o'clock in the morning with different licenses and things like that. When the late night shift does go, typically down to 2 cars. So we'd probably be at that point looking at some 6 to 2 timelines. Some other things, we're constantly evaluating our call volumes. We may move some shifts, some shift change times up. So like the day shift may not all be 7 to 3 people. There may be some people working day shifts that's a 9 to 5 tour to get that 3 to 5 hour when it's accidents time and things like that with some extra coverage. So we're looking at times to try and negate some of this, the uptake in the calls. But having that extra person on nights during that busy period, and also too, it does allow us to go down that 1 car and stay at a minimum of 3 cars on, because I'll be quite honest with you, I don't feel the night shift, especially during that 3 to 11 time period, or on Friday and Saturday nights, that 3 to really 1 a.m. time period is very tough to have just the 2 cars out there when you go down a shift because of someone taking a vacation day or something else. And I believe it still leaves us a very healthy overtime budget. It still allows me to be able to guarantee court coverage and shift coverage when needed. And it also lets me, have enough money to do the extra investigations when they come. As you've seen lately by the emails I've been sending you, we've had a larger uptick in our narcotics investigations. We're really, we're treating those as a quality of life issue in our different, whether it be apartment complexes or housing developments or just neighbors. And that continues today. So basically, I'm requesting the 17th officer. You've seen in the budget, it's sustainable. I believe ATA Holston, when she did her evaluation, basically agreed with my budget assessment. And I guess I would ask the board to support at this point.
So you going out to 16 as a level fund?
Yes.
What about 17 and beyond?
At 17 and beyond, it depends on the collective bargaining agreements that are expiring.
Okay.
So we need to look at that going forward. Sorry. But yes, I'm very, very comfortable that throughout this year and throughout next year, it can be sustained.
Can you explain to me currently how you break up your shifts? How many people are on from your morning shift, your afternoon shift, and your night shift, and how this 17th person fits in with this? After you had Mr. Fian, Officer Fian came back, Now, where's Mr. Fian going, and where does the 17th person fit in?
We were actually almost 2 people short for the entire last year, because we had Tom Fian, who was overseas in Afghanistan, and we also were down an officer for whatever reason, through retirement, through leaving, through things like that. So currently what happens is there's three cars on the day shift, there's 3 cars on 3 to 11s always, and then 2 cars on the late night tour. The 17th will give extra coverage during that 3 to 11 and carryover. Again, it's going to be a mix of different shifts. It gives me my first layer there. To really do what I want to do, I need 1.5 people to really give my 3 to 11. The way to explain, I guess, is they work a 4-day on, 2-day off schedule, so it's a 6-day cycle. So I really need a person and a half to get me full coverage, extra coverage on the 3 to 11. Obviously, that's something to talk about at a later date. This gets me my first section of coverage, extra coverage on the night shift, to keep it, for the most part, at a minimum of 3 cars. And it gives me my 4th car, which is also going to give me, because the number of calls during that time period have ticked up, that I can target these neighborhoods that I just don't have physically have the time, a lot of times with the officers, to get on these roads that the people are complaining about for both traffic enforcement, for, our drunk driving arrests are up, our AOI narcotic arrests are up, both in the vehicle and out. The disturbances are up during the time period. And the technical aspect of the patrol job isn't like what it used to be. The amount of paperwork that comes with an arrest or a domestic situation or things like that ties that officer off the road for an hour and a half to 2 hours on each call, just doing the reports and all that is required to document these things. So, basically, this is going to give me extra coverage during that time period. During the day shift, while there may be 3 cars on, there's also the school resource officer in town, the sergeant of detectives, and currently myself. So if something happens during the daytime, you've got your 3 patrols, plus all these other different people we can call out of places. After 5 o'clock at night, you've just got your 3 patrols. You don't have that extra backup. So this will augment that situation, and also is for the amount that it costs me to fund 2,080 hours of patrol time, with the same thing of just keeping us at level staffing at 3, filling it with overtime. I only get I don't even get half that time realistically by the time it's done. So this is just going to give me that extra layer that I've had there. And again, I guess I would like to remind the board, this was a layer that we had until 2004 and lost during the layoff periods, and the town has continued to grow, and the police department has not. And again, that's why you'll see in here where I talk about coming back and talking about the 18th officer this fall to augment the detective bureau, because the technical things that are going on in there, I need to have 2 people doing investigations.
I'm good.
Good.
Ready for motion? What do you think?
Ready for motion.
Okay. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the police chief's request on the staffing vacancy review policy to fill 1 additional full-time benefited patrol officer position, thereby increasing from 16 to 17 the number of uniform officers for the Littleton Police Department, including chief and deputy.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Chief.
Conservation first, so Pete, can you go? Sure. What's 8C? 8C1.
We're gonna move you up in order, Pete, so we're gonna move you up.
Take you right now, Pete.
Right now?
Yeah,
Can I sit there?
sure can.
All right. Thank you.
So, did you win the draw that you had to come and represent?
No, the chairman Jim Pickett.
Yep.
Turned to me, he said, "Would you like to go on Monday?" He went, "What am I going to say?"
But it was a unanimous vote of your board
Yes,
last
yes.
Monday night,
Right.
7-0,
Right.
to submit this request. And
If you can, Pete, can you give us a rundown of the
Yeah,
reasons that...
Sure. We have arrived at a condition where we really need a full-time conservation agent. Back in 8 or 7, around that time, the economy began to go down, so there was a marginal decrease in activity, real estate activity, as you must know. But
Yeah.
at the same time, we were dealing with the tragic decline of Barbara Chapin. And stepping into the mix was Ian Gunn, who did, stellar work for the Conservation Commission for about 2 years or so. We'll never see the like of him again. And so that sort of held things together. But then he's gone, Dan Lord is gone. The economy has improved as far as housing is concerned, and housing and in commercial development. So we're at a point where we need to have someone who will be full-time, not part-time. Now, the present person is part-time. There's no reason why that person can't apply, but we need to have a structure that allows a full-time person. And, this person's got to be physically able, regardless of state laws. Got to be physically able to move around through all weathers, over hill and dale, to do their work, and then be up to date on all the laws regarding the Wetland Protection Act, so that person, male or female, can advise us, at the meetings, and give us, solid information about the various buildings or areas that she's dealing with, or he's dealing with. It doesn't matter. And we just can't function without a full-time person now. Now, all towns haven't reached this point, but many have. The larger cities must have already been that way, back in the late 60s. But town by town, you'll see that they're going to need a full-time person to do this.
Keith, you want to jump in?
Yeah, the commission has recognized for years now, the goal is to have conservation agent level services available on town staff. And while the decision was made for various reasons several years ago to hire a grade 6 administrative assistant, the recognition was that the time would come, you need what for us is a grade 9 conservation coordinator. It's called conservation agent level services. And as Pete says, for a lot of years we filled the gap because Ian Gunn was around and available as a member to give his services for free. And now that he's gone, now that the economy has picked up, and now that the other members are being pressed into service that they're not able to give, that I know Sarah spent a good deal of time out at some of the major projects here, and it shouldn't fall on the shoulders of the volunteer staff. It should fall on the paid staff. Fortunately for conservation, they have a dedicated funding source that we can tap into. We are talking about needing to increase the
for the staffing by about $18,000 per year. They have nearly twice that right now in their wetland fund. That is one of the allowable uses is to hire staff for them to carry out their mission. Additional, as application funds come in, there will continue to be funds going into the fund. We can float this boat for at least 2 years, even if you didn't get another dime of additional application money in. But we will be getting application money in the future. The need does exist. There's no. The staff recommendation is to have you approve the request with the finding that there's no impact on the property tax levy for the next couple of years because it's going to be funded by their funding source.
Yeah. We're wallowing in money, you're in the clear.
Right now.
Well, when we mentioned that at a staff meeting, we had other people saying, oh, you've got some money, can they have it? And
Yeah.
it's for conservation.
When was the last time your fees were all looked at and updated?
What's that?
When was the last time your fees and,
The fees have just recently gone up, I believe.
Within the last year or two, but
Within this fiscal year, so we're going to need to monitor what that increase equates out to. So it may be sustainable, but we haven't seen enough history to determine that at this point.
But what we do know is that the conservation, with the amount of major projects going on, that it's not the time for the Conservation Commission to be without the staffing level that they need. And they have the funding source to do it. As I say, we have a unanimous vote from the commission, 7-0, to request the service. The form that we're bringing you, the request, follows the form of a written MOA between the two boards that we've used successfully with the Board of Health and the Zoning Board of Appeals to meet staffing levels that the person, it spells out the procedures by which the person will get hired. They're the hiring authority. The person would have a direct report to the building commissioner, who is the supervisor of the other staff in those other agreements. So
We can always strip money from Roland.
Roland, any response to that, Roland?
Well, in the memorandum of agreement, I think it is pointed out how the actual process is for interviewing?
yes, yeah, we'd set up a screening committee that would involve myself, the building commissioner, and less than a quorum of the Conservation Commission in the first round. Second round be before the full Conservation Commission. That part would be public, and then the person's day-to-day supervisor would be the building commissioner. And that's worked successfully with the ZBA and the Board of Health.
Have you looked into regionalization of this position? Are there any other towns around that has a?
No, we haven't. What we discovered locally is that our present agent works part-time.
Yeah.
For Littleton, I believe she works part-time for some other town, which is okay for that person, but we need a fully dedicated person
We
to
did
our
put out-
town.
Yeah, we did put out the call to all of our surrounding communities. I only got one nibble from when I said, initially we were looking at, could we buy 15 hours a week from someone else? Is there another part-time conservation agent? I had interest expressed from one community, followed it up. That person happened to be full-time already, and there was just no way, we couldn't get, 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. So.
Okay.
But we did explore whether we could do it on an intermunicipal basis, and we're not able to come up with a strategy.
I think it's also important to point out, we had these services before with previous staff with Barbara Chapin.
Yeah.
And then Ian was kind enough to step in the interim and with the lull in activity, so. But Ian was in here very regularly, so.
Roland, do you have any comments since you'll be the supervisor?
No, the model that Keith has presented up in the offices
has presented so far excellent communication between the departments, and this will only improve it. I mean, we're very good up there as far as communicating, and I can only see this as improving a situation that it's very busy out there in the field, and it's important that we do communicate and stay on top of this. Because once the problem evolves, it's hard to bring it back in. So we have to stay on top.
Just one comment, I think they picked the perfect representative with Mr. Tierney. That's it.
Well, that's the other thing. I told them that, in encouraging Pete to show up, I said, I wonder if they could say no to you.
No.
I'll review the grades, right?
We don't have any cashews or no honey dip donuts. We're in a bad spot here. Ready for a motion there, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to execute a memorandum of agreement with the Conservation Commission relative to filling a 35-hour-per-week Grade 9 position Conservation Coordinator and elimination of a 20-hour-per-week Grade 6 position Administrative Assistant as set forth therein and pursuant to the Board staffing vacancy review policy.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed.
Congratulations, my friend.
When you're tired of your tie, let me have it.
You like that, huh? Do you?
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Back on schedule with 8A.
8A is a request from the Permanent Municipal Building Committee. I met with Joe Calentro, who was designated in charge of the project. The full PMBC board had voted on May 21st to recommend acceptance of a proposal from GNR Construction. This regards some masonry work at the Littleton Police Headquarters. It was, the architect, I think, said this is the best proposal that you're going to get, and so you ought to grab it. It's for some work to be done at no cost, but with the proviso that we acknowledge that there were no wrongdoings on GNR's part. It's that language, frankly, under our town code, which the selectmen get to approve, because essentially you're waiving the right to sue GNR over the matter. So the request from the committee is to accept the proposal, have the work done, the masonry work done, and say it's not their fault. And that's it.
Any comments?
That's an accurate statement.
There was some very select areas on the new police station where the mortar popped out, and it's not or just flaked off. It's not a major issue, but it needs to be addressed so that the building can continue on with its 50-year life. Normally, the contractor is subject to a 1-year warranty period, and since this is well over a year since they finished, getting the contractor to come back for no cost to the town is a great deal. I don't know how Joe was able to pull that off. I mean,
The other person you can't say no to.
he's very, in his former life, he was a purchasing manager, so he has some techniques that a lot of us don't have. So the agreement that we're settling, we'll be agreeing to here, will be that basically that we're not going to tell them to come back again. Well, if they fix this, first of all, we don't have really any right to tell them coming back again because they're out of warranty, and for them to come back right now for no cost is just a terrific deal.
So they made us an offer we couldn't refuse.
Great.
I'd look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Section 8-5 of the Town Code and as recommended by the Permanent Municipal Building Committee to approve a May 19, 2014 letter agreement with G&R Construction, Inc. of Quincy, Mass. for masonry repairs to the Littleton Police Headquarters, 500 Green Road.
Second.
Motion been moved in second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, PMBC.
We'll get them on to work.
Great.
Moving on, Chief, you have police vehicles, Ford Interceptors, 2 marked and 1 unmarked.
Correct. These were what was approved at the town meeting. All three were built and purchased under the mass contracts of Imperial Motor Vehicles, which is a Ford dealership. They'll come in fully turnkey, so when they show up the day they show up here on patrol, they'll be ready to go. I ran them by Bonnie. They're under budget or at budget, and again, they were all done under the mass state contracts, so they comply with the bidding rules.
Correct. And we're looking at auctioning the vehicles being replaced at the end of the summer and depositing those funds into an account that can be used next year to procure additional vehicles.
Ready? Yep. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Article 7 of the May 5, 2014 Annual Town Meeting to authorize procurement of the Imperial Municipal Partners of Milford, Mass. under the state bid contract OVM 10 of 2 marked equipped 2014 all-wheel drive Ford Interceptor utility vehicles totaling $96,993.70 and 1 unmarked and equipped 2014 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle at the purchase price of $35,552.60 for the total of $132,546.30.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Now on to the procurement of the fire command vehicle. I would imagine it's much the same.
Even the same vendor? Yeah. Same
Slightly
vendor.
different number, be for 2015 Ford Interceptor utility vehicle. They had to order it, so it'll be in a little
One
bit
in
later.
red, one in blue.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
It will be red.
And what happens to the current vehicle?
This vehicle will be traded in as part of it. They had already received the quote, and the financing was based on trading it in. However, with the condition of the vehicle, there is some concern about, I mean, I know if we auction it off, it's auctioned off, but there are some issues with the vehicle, so we think trading it in is the best result at this point.
No tiff going on getting the 2015 and 2014.
Mine are there. Mine are sitting there.
Yeah.
I went, pick, thank you.
They didn't have red on the lot.
There's no red on the lot.
They had to order it.
All right. Move the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Article 7 of the May 5, 2014 Annual Town Meeting to authorize procurement of a 2015 all-wheel drive Ford Interceptor utility vehicle for $33,123.60 from Imperial Municipal Partners of Milford, Mass. under state bid contract OVM 10.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
The process and
You here when Kendall was
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he was chairman, he used to read the entire motion back?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Never? It'll go on forever. Now, radio equipment.
Radio equipment. Looking for the procurement of $58,639 for 38 Motorola XTS 1500s. This is the final phase of the radio replacement program. So this will basically outfit all of the apparatus, call officers, as well as the career staff with portable radios, and wrap up the program.
And this is part of the bad tower piece that you said with the
Separate issue.
separate issue, but still capable of being used? Okay.
Yep.
This is all part of town meeting, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Everything on the tower issue, all but one section of that has been hooked up at this point. We're waiting for them to move the police radios from Air Road to Oak Hill. That's Everything else is operational right now, so those phone lines, costs will be coming off the town's bill here extremely shortly here.
Yeah, cut all the copper wires.
Don't say copper.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Article 7 on May 6th, 2013, and the May 5th, 2014 annual town meetings to authorize procurement of $58,639.75 of 38 XTS 1500 radios and accessories from Motorola Solutions, Inc. of Woburn, Mass. Under state bid contract ITT 40.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Communication is king. No pun intended. Communication is king.
And what's Wadzinski?
Okay, 8C3, right? 8C2. Staff vacancy review, town clerk, election warden.
So basically what happened is the IRS has decided that the election warden can no longer be a contract person. So we've gotten together and done a job description, went before the personnel board, got it graded and set in stone. My last step is coming here before you to get it as an employee non-benefit. And basically, it's just the election warden for all of our elections, and, you know, it varies every year. This year, obviously, we have the extra because of the special election. So, you know, the monies we're looking at is something that's already in my budget. Obviously, the monies wouldn't be there for special elections that get called during the year, but, you know, for the most part, we're level funded, so no changes there. It's just changing from being contract to employee based on IRS changes.
How are you going to fill them? Is it the same individual?
The desire is to keep the same individual that I have there in
Yeah.
place right now. It's Sandy Clyde.
Okay.
So.
The intent here is, under the bylaw, the position would need to be posted, and it's assumed that Sandy would apply. It is a Board of Selectmen appointment, so we would come back to the board for the formal recommendation on the appointment. So it is your appointment.
And you'll do all the interviews through a process and all that stuff and make recommendations?
Absolutely.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the town clerk's request under the staffing vacancy review policy to fill one part-time, non-benefited position for election warden as an employee rather than an outside vendor.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, clerk.
Staffing vacancy review.
This is a long answer to a short problem. It actually started out, and Bonnie can get into the details, but you'll recall some months ago, we had a conversation with the Finance Committee about being able to provide them and other town boards with sort of a reservoir of on-call employees that we could go to pick from and have available to do meeting minutes and other things. That's sort of where the germ of the idea came from. And there were some other issues that came up as well, where the solution that Bonnie has brought forward seemed that if we could create a new category of on-call positions that would include administrative functions, have you vote to establish a level, a number of people that we could hire to fill those, then we wouldn't have to come back each time there's a vacancy. We've done that with on-call police and fire positions. We haven't done it outside the public safety area before, but there are a number of categories where it looks like it would be advantageous for us to be able to do that.
There are a number of times during the year due to either vacations or staffing vacancies or illnesses, extended illnesses, where there are employees that have budgeted positions, so there's appropriations available, are not there to fill it. And we would need to come to the board to request either a permanent replacement of that employee, if it's that type of a situation. In the case of, I'll use the chief here as an example, there is an extended illness, non-work related. So the full-time person is now only able to work 20 hours for an extended period of time. There may be other admin staff that could pick up the slack and take the extra hours, but there's no process in place to do something like that. So it wouldn't impact the budget. It wouldn't be an additional cost. You wouldn't be hiring outside contractors, which would not really be appropriate in this type of situation. And by using trained staff, you could get the benefit of having somebody just go into the position itself with very little training. So what we're looking to do is to create a pool of a few administrative assistants, maybe a clerk, a payroll coordinator, to fill in as needed on call when something like that comes up, and when budget funds are available. Obviously, if the budget's not available, you can't fill the vacancy. This would help, in the chief's position here, where he needs an admin staffer to help with payroll and AP. There are, I think, other categories that we're dealing with in both, like the finance committee. They have a staffer that takes their minutes. But occasionally, if she's not available to take the minutes, it would be nice to be able to call somebody else to come in and step in and do that process. The money's budgeted, again, no impact. So what we're looking to do is to, A, have those positions be posted and filled or bid on, and then change the policy to allow us to have a predetermined staffing level of 5 for those types of positions, and then define the process that if there is a vacancy, like in the chief's case, you would present the request to Keith. Keith would review it. I would determine whether the budget could be appropriate, or whether there was a budget appropriated to fill the vacancy, and then it would be done. In many cases, if it were a true vacancy, then there would be a formal request to fill permanently a vacancy. This is just temporary staffing. There's no impact to budget, benefits, or any other.
Yeah, there's no incentive for us to use this to shortcut. If we want to fill a permanent vacancy, we'll come here and shot to get that authorization. But where there are temporary circumstances that are preventing the work from getting done, that there were budget monies that can be expended by the department to get that work done in the interim, and until the sick employee returns or whatever it might be. It's a level of flexibility that would help the work get done, because there are some cases where it's not getting done. It needs to be.
In my case, my administrative assistant got rear-ended on her way to work and had surgery, and has currently been on only half days, and for the foreseeable future also. And it's difficult, to pick up that slack, because there's no real backup to her to do it. And also will assist when there's vacations, things like that. The person who does payroll disappears for a week, and if I haven't done it in a year, payroll looks quite interesting when I'm done with it.
Now, do we have a pool of people already?
No.
No, we don't.
This is something we have to go out and...
Yeah, we would want to advertise, and we would want to post, and we would want to maintain a pool. And frankly, I think that on the idea of, the meeting minutes, it's not simply the finance committee, but it's been others from time to time that would like us, if we can't get them a senior, tax volunteer to be assigned, again, there's work that needs to get done. We'd like to have it done. We've got budget monies that could be used to do it. But we haven't had the mechanism of actually saying, let's declare that we're going to establish an on-call list to be able to assign those people to do the work that comes up.
So I got 2 concerns. My first concern is to kind of put it in the same category as your on-call firefighters and some of your reserve police officers. It's not the same.
We're not.
It's not the same. So my second concern is that later on, we see a budget line item for temporary help. So if you can guarantee that the only way this is going to be functioned is within anybody's budget, I have no issue with it. But it's got to be guaranteed that there's not an increase of anybody's budget for temporary help.
If there is no budget appropriation available, the position cannot be filled. So and I'll use, Chief King's case here, the admin that's out half-time, the insurance company is picking up her, because it was an accident, they're picking up her salary, so the salary remains in the line item available. That's a case that it would work.
I just see an increasing another line item for temporary help going into everybody's operational budgets, and that's my concern.
There is no plan.
We won't.
If you
We won't
can't
do
fund
that.
it within
Again,
the budget.
our incentive is we want to fill permanent positions that are vacant because that's,
Understood.
because that's the right investment to make in the employee. And this is a stopgap measure to hold us together until.
That's all I have.
So procedurally, what we're asking is that you amend your policy, which right now says it's only emergency response on-call positions that can be, for which we can have a predetermined staffing level. So we're looking to amend that policy by striking the word emergency response. We'd still need to come back to the Board of Selectmen each and every time you establish a predetermined staffing level. So let's say if you agree to this, what we're calling this now, and we think of something else and bring it to you later, it still has to get past you each time. We can't create a new category. We've created, police and fire ones. This is an administrative one that we're looking to do. If you are agreeable to so amend your policy, typically your policy amendments require 2 meetings. So you can receive it tonight, and then you can adopt it 2 weeks from tonight. That's the standard procedure. You can do that if you wish. If you wanted to do it sooner than that, then your policy requires you to waive that that 1 meeting waiting rule, and that would then allow us to go ahead and to take the action after tonight to establish the policy.
Personally, I'd like to wait off to the next meeting, and I'll tell you why. In the third part of the motion, as far as establishing the 5 positions, I'd like to see titles, grades.
I believe we did put that in there.
It's just not in the motion.
It's not in the motion, but I did put it in the memo. We're looking to get authorization for 1 payroll and finance coordinator, which is a grade 7. And again, this is on call. 1 department clerk, which is more filing and very lower level admin at a grade 4. And 3 administrative assistants, which are grade 6. Just as a.
So we could add those to the motion.
Put it to the motion. So this is very specific.
Yep.
I don't know, it's up to you guys as far as the waiver of the meeting. I say hold off, but.
There's no harm in holding off, right?
I don't see any.
It pushes me back another 2 weeks with only half time, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
Well, do you have
He's got
some?
one of the larger payrolls to deal with, so.
So do you have somebody, you're gonna still have to post, so you wanna get involved in it?
Right now, it's me.
All right, I guess we can waive it
All right.
for the police chief. All right.
This one's long.
Shall I do this one? Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to introduce an amendment to its staffing vacancy policy so that the final paragraph, and this is only in regards to these specific positions, the policy does not change otherwise.
It would strike the word emergency response, because right now, that
then why don't-
language is not broad enough to include.
So why don't we have an administrative paragraph to that?
Well, what you could do, instead of striking emergency response, you could add administrative.
you know.
Let's do that, okay. On-call emergency response and administrative service employees. That would accomplish the same thing.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to introduce an amendment to its staffing vacancy review policy so that the final paragraph reads as follows. Positions fully funded through program fees to include fringe benefits. So program fees in this sense is any type of town appropriation. Yes?
Those would be Park and Rec employees that are funded by programs. That's what that language was put
Yeah,
in for.
it's on that basis that the Park and Rec
Okay, so-
seasonal ones don't come before you now anyway.
What's that?
The Park
I
and
get
Rec,
that, I
yeah.
get that, but we're not talking about programming fees for emergency
No, we're not,
responses.
no, it's a separate, it's after the,
right.
after the comma.
All right, so, positions fully funded through program fees to include fringe benefits are exempt from this requirement, as well as on-call emergency response and administrative positions within the predetermined staffing level approved by the Board of Selectmen. So,
Yes, that's it.
I know, that's it, but I guess the funding piece, again, it's not specified in here in regards to, if it's not in your budget, you're not going to get the position. So,
Within budgeted amounts.
within fiscal year budgets or appropriations.
Yeah, within appropriated amounts. Is how the end of that.
Predetermined, well, positions within the predetermined
Staffing level.
staffing levels approved by the Board of Selectmen and
Within appropriated.
within
amounts.
appropriation funding, or something to that effect.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Move that the Board of Selectmen vote unanimously to waive its Rule 1 requiring that the policy not be adopted at a meeting first introduced, and further vote approve said policy amendment forthwith, having found the prompt action is necessary.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to establish a predetermined staffing level for on-call temporary administrating service employees for finance and budget and department at 5 positions, to be specific. 1 payroll finance coordinator, grade 7, 1 department clerk, grade 4, and 3 administrative assistants, grade 6.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's done.
Thank you.
The 8D, Keith,
Yes.
8D mentions a relative. And does that mean we have to hold off on this? Because if I recuse myself from this, obviously...
It's, because it's not a member of your immediate family, it's the offspring of a cousin.
Yes.
That's, if you disclose that fact, you can then vote on it. It's not a...
So I make a disclosure for the minutes that the person mentioned that will be filling this position is Kevin Hunt, and he is my cousin's son.
This agreement that we're presenting is between the town and the Light and Water Department with the, and it pertains to what is oversight of the wastewater treatment facility that's located at the high school, which serves various public buildings, including the school buildings, fire station, and this building, among others. That is colloquially known as the limited municipal sewer system. It's so limited that we dare not even call it a sewer system, but we need to have someone to oversee it. The person that has overseen that sewer system since its inception was Savas Danos, who did it as a volunteer. He has since retired. It is not reasonable for us to assume that his successor or anyone else at Light and Water would do it for nothing. Savas was kind enough to work out the arrangements. We offered it to both Jim Clyde and Kevin Hunt as something that maybe they may be interested in. Jim declined. Kevin agreed that it would, if his boss, now Scott Edwards, gave him the assignment, that he would be glad to do that. The contract would be between
the town and Light and Water. Light and Water would then assign one of its employees to do this work. We know who it is, we know it's going to be Kevin. The town pays the money not to Kevin, but to Light and Water. Light and Water then compensates their employee for doing not only water stuff, but which is his basic job description now, but also the limited municipal sewer work. That way, we satisfy the legal requirement for the employee that he's only getting paid from one department, because we're giving the money to the other department. But it's a vital service for us to do, and we've got to have it covered. And I'm happy that the Light and Water is amenable to providing the service to us.
It's all good. Ready? Ready? Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to authorize the execution of memorandum of understanding with the Littleton Electric Light and Water Departments in the amount of $7,280 per year, and the provision by Littleton Electric Light and Water Department to the town of oversight services for a limited municipal sewer system comprised of the wastewater treatment facility located at Littleton High School and the collection system serving Littleton Middle School, the Russell Street School, and Littleton Town Office Complex, the fire station, and the Houghton Building.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Special town election, this is straightforward. Just take a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to execute the warrant in the special town election to be held at Saturday, June 28, 2014, at 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the Charles Forbes K Gymnasium, Littleton Middle School, 55 Russell Street, and direct the constable post said warrant forthwith.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now, on the minutes approval, there's one that hasn't been settled, right?
Yeah, you've got two categories of minutes to go to vote on. First, and it's not numbered, but you do have the public session minutes of April 28th and May 12th, which you could vote to approve.
Ready?
No, these two
Oh.
first. You gotta do those two first.
Oh, what do I do?
Just make a motion to approve.
Oh, right. Okay, make a motion, not that,
Just
just
these.
meeting minutes. Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 12th and April 28th Board of Selectmen.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that one's done.
Next, we have, there are 4 sets of executive session minutes that have been requested. 3 of them are suitable for disclosure. There's 2 ways you can do that. One is that you can go into executive session to review them, approve them, and direct that they be released, or you can do that in public session. You're not required to go into executive session. If there were no questions about the minutes as presented for the meetings on the executive sessions on May 10th, March 24th, the later session, and April 28th. If you're fine with those, and they've been reviewed by town council and myself, if you're fine with those, you can just vote to approve those by adopting motion number 2, which says an executive session, but just you can do it in public session, with the exception that where it says 2 sets on March 24th, it would be 1 set.
But we just can't say one set. We have to.
You could say not the 9:15, March 24th, the 9:15 executive session.
Okay.
Okay. So, what a little background as to why these are even being brought up. We had a public information request by a resident that requested these minutes.
Requested the minutes, and because you haven't
what was it?
reviewed them or released them, that we have 14 days to review them. The board has 14 days to review them to make a determination whether they are eligible for release or not. from our review, 3 of the 4 set are eligible because the matters that they involved have since been concluded.
And where was the letter for the actual public document request? It's not in the package.
That's, I don't
Yeah.
have it here, have it handy.
So,
It simply requested the executive session minutes of those
for any
3
particular reason, did it mention?
Pardon?
Did it mention any particular reason, or?
No, it simply requested those dates.
Okay.
I'm not sure we can vote on it anyway, because if you look at who was present at that meeting, it's myself, you, Alex is not here, and Ted Doucette.
Well, it's going to come a time, well, I mean, if we start going back for the executive session minutes of even beyond 1 or 2 years ago, which fall in the same category, it's whoever's sitting here
Right.
now.
Yeah.
Whoever's sitting here now has the authority to approve and release them.
Okay.
So, well, we might like to do it when same people are sitting here. The fact is, whoever's sitting here today has the authority to do it.
Like, yeah, you could have executive sessions from a couple of years ago that
All right.
could never be voted.
Any other discussions, any issues with that? Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to accept and release the executive session minutes from March 10th, 2014, March 24th, 9:15 minutes, and April 28th, 2014, period. That's it, we're not returning it.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Just second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
You got a lot done, but you had, it's been a month since we met.